Chapter 226. In the Far East, at the end of the world's continent, is the endless ocean. There live countless powerful monsters, which are extremely large in size and very powerful. Sea dragons are also one of the top dragon species among the dragon clan. Due to its dangerous environment, this ocean is also known as the Sea of Death. It has claimed the lives of countless people, and even humans only dare to explore in the nearshore areas. The city floating on the sea has become the last harbor. It is not only a shelter but also a true free city-state. The wind blowing in from the sea brought a salty and humid smell. Two figures were teleported and stood on the shore, looking at the shadow in the distance. It looks far away, but it's not close either. Ligulet looked around and determined her location. She had been here before and could roughly determine the location. Sir, although I can't be 100% sure, the city on the sea should be in the distance. Sig narrowed his eyes, his pupils shrinking into a vertical line. It's okay, I've seen it. His eyesight was good enough to see buildings in the distance, and he could see quite a few demi-humans, as well as frolicking mermen nearby, which was enough to confirm it. Ligulet was a little surprised, but she felt relieved when she thought about the power possessed by the person in front of her. The appearance of humans is just an illusion, don't be fooled. She reminded him, we can only go there by boat. In order to resist the invasion of flying monsters, the Sea City has set up a magic barrier that prohibits flying. Sig nodded, then changed his clothes and put on a mask. From now on, I will be the adventurer Eli. Since we are going to explore an unknown place, we should not reveal our real name and use the disguised identity we used before. Ligulet nodded, very smartly, not asking any more questions. Got it, Master Eli. Sig said calmly, just call me Mr. Eli, no need to call me sir. You should know how to explain my identity to King Qiangwei later. Ligulet thought for a moment and replied nervously, I'll tell them that Mr. Eli is the helper I found. Is that okay? Sig replied, okay, you are ready to make contact. After receiving a positive answer, Ligulet felt relieved. She was sure that Sig would not kill King Qiangwei for the time being. To find the girl sleeping at the bottom of the sea, it is not enough to just come to the underwater city, but also a token to open the passage is needed, which she has already given to Abreu. King Qiangwei and his group are currently in the maritime city, waiting for orders to act. Ligulet's original intention was to provide double insurance. If the Platinum Dragon King failed, she would bring the guild's weapons to the Sea City to reunite with Blue Rose, and together they would awaken the underwater girl. If it was successful, there would be no need to do that. We cannot waste the precious opportunity for assistance. As a result, the plan could not keep up with the changes. Unexpectedly, not only did the Platinum Dragon King fail, the location of the guild's weapons was also discovered, and even she herself was captured, leaking all the information. If Ligulet had known this would be the outcome, she would never have let King Qiangwei get involved in this mess, but there is no medicine for regret in the world. Mr. Eli, please follow me to the boat boarding place. In the harbor, a ferry ship slowly sailed in. The pattern printed on the hull was very eye-catching. It was a woman with pointy ears holding a bow and arrow. It is said that it was the legendary heroine who defeated the sea monster, and the name of the ship was the Ocean Goddess. Those who are preparing to go to the maritime city are already ready to board the ship. Many of these people are Central Asians, as well as sea lizard subspecies, and the number of humans is relatively small. The 6 central countries of the continent are all subhuman countries. The number of subhumans is very large, and most of these people come from there. There were only a few humans, including Ligulet and Sig. They were all dressed as adventurers. It was obvious that they all had good abilities and wanted to go to the Sea City to make money. According to rumors, the owner of this harbor is actually a very powerful dragon king. So even though the demi-humans looked down on humans, they did not dare to attack them casually, and the order at the scene was still pretty good. After getting on the boat, Sig stood on the deck and enjoyed the sea breeze. He hadn't seen such a beautiful sea view for a long time and naturally couldn't miss it. If Ainz saw this, he would definitely regret not coming along. His tightly wrapped outfit did not attract the attention of others. Most magic casters were dressed strangely, and so was Ligulet, who was still wearing a cloak. The Ocean Goddess sailed at a very fast speed and soon arrived at the port city-state of the maritime city. Before everyone got off the boat, they were attracted by the following scene. The mermaids splashed water, revealing their beautiful upper bodies. They then began to sing together, showing off their beautiful voices, as if welcoming the guests. Sig also stopped and took a look. No wonder they said that the mermaid's singing could bewitch the mind, it was indeed very beautiful. There are only female mermaids. Their songs have a confusing effect. They will capture males of other species to reproduce. It is very dangerous to encounter them in the sea. After Ligulet finished her introduction, she added, however, there will be no attacks in the sea city. The use of force is prohibited here. Just at this moment, a mermaid with blue hair happened to cast a wink, twisted her waist and swam over, smiling at Sig. Sig felt helpless. They were singing here simply to seek mates. He no longer wanted to continue watching the show, let's go and do some real work. In the hotel of the sea city, King Qiangwei and his group were waiting anxiously. Even the usually carefree Gagelan had a serious look on his face. Ligulet has already told them the truth, the Platinum Dragon King has failed, and she will come to join them. The enemy was so powerful that they couldn't help but worry about Ligulet's safety. The council country is too far away from the maritime city, and even using teleportation will take time. In such a tense atmosphere, a playful female voice broke the deadlock. Girls, are you getting impatient? Ibarua stood up in an instant, old woman, you are too slow. Ligulet smiled and said, I'm sorry, I encountered some problems on the way and there were many unexpected situations. Just arrive safely. After a few people greeted each other, Logis noticed the man next to Ligulet. She always felt that this man was somewhat familiar, but she forgot where she had seen him. Who is this? Ligulet introduced, he is Mr. Eli, an adventurer. Thanks to his help, I was able to get here so quickly. Logis extended her hand, hello, I am the leader of King Qiangwei. Blue Rose, hey? I remember they were a very famous adventurer team. Sig shook his hand back, and his voice, altered by magic, had no flaws at all. Gigran laughed and said, you are too modest, little brother. You are the savior Eli. Come and have S*X with me when you have time. There's a high chance that a magic caster with a weird temper is a virgin. I didn't expect that someone would know me. Sig responded calmly, but out of the corner of his eye he saw a young girl, who is it? Several people looked over at the same time, but saw nothing. Sig blinked again, and there was indeed no one there. He shook his head, sorry, I saw it wrongly. But, is it really wrong? Chapter 227. The maritime cities have no nominal rulers but are managed by different city-states and can trade freely. Many people here have faith. They devoutly believe in the true owner of this place, the legendary goddess of the sea who repelled terrible monsters. Even though she was only active for a short while and then disappeared, it did not affect people's admiration for her. The most magnificent building here is the temple, and priests preaching can be seen everywhere on the streets. Perhaps influenced by this atmosphere, Logis, the priestess, also walked into the temple and looked at the statue of the goddess of the sea with curiosity. I heard from Ligulet that she is the one we are looking for. It's unbelievable. By the way, Mr. Eli, do you have faith? Logis turned around, faced the man at the door, and suddenly asked this inexplicable question. Sig replied calmly, I am an atheist. He himself is a god, so he naturally knows that gods are actually nothing special, they are just ordinary people with great power. The same is true for the 6 gods deified by the Church. Their greatest virtue is kindness, of course, only towards humans. Logis frowned, but soon relaxed her brows. Mr. Eli is really honest. If other people heard it, we might get into trouble. If anyone dares to question the goddess of the sea in the sea city, they will definitely be expelled and will never be allowed to enter again. After listening to Logis's reasons, Sig smiled and said, I believe God exists. You can rest assured about that. He just doesn't believe in God, not questioning the existence of God. There is an essential difference between these 2 points. Logis was a little surprised. Who was this Eli? She always felt that he had an unfathomable temperament. Sig turned his head and changed the subject directly, Ms. Lacassie, your companion seems to be busy. Is it okay for us to stay idle here? It's okay. Tia and Tina work well together. They are both very good at collecting intelligence. The others. Logis's expression was awkward for a moment, but she quickly covered it up with a smile. You have already helped Ligulet so much, how can I trouble you again? His lying skills are really bad. He is obviously worried that he has ulterior motives. However, given Ligulet's intelligence, she certainly wouldn't dare to say anything even if she wasn't being monitored, so Sig wasn't too worried about that. He simply made it clear, I naturally have my own purpose for doing this, but I remember that King Qiangui is a subordinate of the Holy Dragon King. How could you help the evil dragon who wants to murder him? No. Logis coughed lightly. She also realized that she was too excited. I will not betray His Majesty the Holy Dragon King, and neither will King Qiangui. Sig thought of a possibility. Didn't you know that things would develop to this point? Logis struggled, her eyes gradually became sharp, and she finally reacted, Mr. Eli hasn't told me his purpose yet. Isn't it too much to question me directly? Sig chuckled under his mask, took a few steps closer, raised his hand and picked up the golden hair that fell on her shoulders. Ms. Lacassie, it's better for you not to know, be careful not to lose your life. Hey, leader, what are you daydreaming about? Logis came to her senses when she heard shouts from afar, but the man had already retreated to his original position. A thin layer of red covered her cheeks, and as she pressed her beating heart, she quickly said thank you and walked towards her companions. Sig stood there with his arms folded, and happened to meet Ligulet's eyes, who nodded at him. Yes, it's very efficient. King Qiangui has explored the Sea City in recent days, but due to the lack of key information, she has not found a way to reach the bottom of the sea. The Platinum Dragon King only told one person about the secret location, and that was Ligulet, so only she could find it. As night fell, the group came to a fountain, or to be more precise, a dry fountain. Perhaps because of what Ligulet said, Blue Rose and her group no longer showed any doubts about Sig and acquiesced to his joining. Ibarua took out a dark blue ball, which should be the so-called token. As the light flickered, the dried-up fountain began to gush out water again, and the surrounding area was filled with water vapor, and then a passage was formed. A few people from King Qiangui walked in first, and it was obvious that curiosity overcame fear. Ligulet deliberately came last and said earnestly, I have completed my mission, please keep your promise. Sig nodded and they stepped into the passage together. The appearance of the maritime city was very sudden, as if it had fallen from the sky. For an island of this size to form without intervention, it would take a long time to evolve and there would have to be a violent submarine volcanic eruption. According to the investigation, the maritime city obviously does not have such conditions. Since it is impossible under natural conditions, it can only be artificially created. Maybe it is impossible in the eyes of ordinary people, but players who can be called gods may be able to do it. After passing through the long and narrow passage, there is a door in front of you. This is a strange space located on the bottom of the sea, surrounded by sea water and emitting a faint blue glow. Ligulet commanded, Crybaby, hold the token close to the door, and it will open. I know. Ibarua swallowed her saliva. Although she said this, she didn't know how to operate and was obviously a little nervous. Sig walked straight forward, took the ball in his hand, and injected magic power into it. Ibarua wanted to snatch it back, but he was a beat too slow due to the height difference, and the door was already opened while he was hesitating. What are you doing? Give it back to you. Sig walked forward, ready to throw the ball back at any time. The so-called token is just a lock-picking tool. It is useless once the door is opened. Ibarua took it in a hurry, gnashing his teeth in anger, he is just as hateful as that guy. The guy was naturally referring to Sig. Since she couldn't call her boss by his name, she gave him this code name. Logis's mind moved, and she looked at the figure in front of her with more suspicion in her eyes. Sig didn't care about King Qiangui and Ligulet. He was anxious to confirm the true identity of the underwater girl. Of course, he was also prepared to take action. The other party has reached an agreement with the Platinum Dragon King, so they will obviously not be on guard against people who come with the token. That is the best time to launch a sneak attack. If it wasn't for Ming Mei, Sig would have killed him without hesitation. A strange player was too dangerous, and he wouldn't take the risk to win him over. Sig soon arrived at a place that looked like a living area, but before he could observe, a magic circle appeared under his feet. Forced transmission. The sleeping girl breathed evenly, her skin looked snow-white against the crystal bed, and her small red lips moved slightly, as if hinting at something. Sig sighed, Xiao Ming Mei, do you want me to wake you up with a kiss? That's just a childish fairy tale. You're clearly awake and have even used magic, yet you're still pretending to be asleep. The girl slowly opened her eyes and smiled slyly. Brother Sig, I'm grown up now. Chapter 228. In order to avoid the inevitable death of the immortal species and wait for the person she may meet again at an unknown time, the forest elf girl fell into a deep sleep on her own initiative. She remained in this state for hundreds of years, and waking up once every 100 years was in vain. Afraid of waking up, afraid of being alone, don't want to be alone. If she, as a player, wants to find peace, she can only abide by the agreement with the Platinum Dragon King and stay alone on the cold seabed. There is no escape, and nowhere to escape to. Brother Sig, let me hold you like this for a while. Ming Mei stretched out her hands and threw herself into the arms of the person in front of her, greedily absorbing the warmth from his touch. Sig felt the girl's fragile body and couldn't help but feel pity for her. She must be very panicked to travel to another world alone at such a young age. Yamaiko, one of the early members of Ainz Oolgown, was originally named Yamas Mako. She is also the older sister of the girl in front of you. Her own name is Yamas Akimi. Sig raised his hand and rubbed her head. Her golden hair was extremely smooth, feeling like soft silk. Ming Mei has really grown up. She doesn't cry anymore. Ming Mei's body in his arms twitched noticeably, her fingertips curled slightly, an inexplicable grievance surged in her heart, and her voice became tearful. It's really too much. Why did you come so late? Sig is most afraid of girls crying, especially because of him. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm here now, and the president is here too. He wants to see you, too. Ming Mei raised her head, her eyes reddened. President? Is it Brother Momonga? Sig handed over a handkerchief. Well, in order to let friends who traveled to this world recognize him, he has changed his name to Ainz Oolgown. Ming Mei finally burst into laughter. It feels a little strange, but it's something that Momonga and I can do. He really cares about everyone in the guild. How do you know? Although Akimi was invited to visit the Great Tomb of Nazarick, she was not able to join Ainz Oolgown because of her race being a forest elf, so she was not very familiar with most of the people in the guild. Ainz himself admitted that his impression of Akimi was just that of Yamaiko's sister, which was roughly the same as the feeling of a friend's sister. Brother Sig, have you forgotten that? Ming Mei puffed up her cheeks in anger, and her elf ears were stained a light red, with the emerald earrings on them sparkling with a strange glow. Sig felt helpless. How could he forget? The current Ming Mei is the same girl as before. It can be said that they are the same person. Their expressions are exactly the same. She is cute but also a little shy. Sig was shocked when he received Ming Mei's confession. The two of them just added each other as gaming friends because they got along well. They had never even met in person and only chatted occasionally. How did it develop to this point? Ming Mei is not only a minor, she lacks mature values, but she is also her friend's sister, which is definitely unacceptable for an adult. So in order not to hurt the girl's young heart, Sig refused on the grounds that she was still young. He really didn't expect the current situation to happen. That Ming Mei, how old are you now? Ming Mei stretched out 3 fingers, thought for a moment and stretched out half of them again. According to the speed of time in the outside world, I am more than 300 years old. Since he has been sleeping all this time, his physical age is probably much younger, but he is probably older than Sig and I. It turned out to be an age reversal, the older brother became a younger brother, and the younger sister became an older sister. It was all the Dragon Emperor's fault. Sig gave a forced smile. Ming Mei, do you want me to call you sister? Really, Brother Sig, are you playing dumb? I don't want to be your sister. Ming Mei slowly moved closer, completely revealing her nearly perfect face, and the unique floral scent of the girl filled the room. I'm grown up now, so I don't have any reason to refuse now. Sig was really startled. He didn't come here with the intention of falling in love. He was just thinking about resolving the threat. The sudden change made him not know how to respond. Ming Mei, now is not the time to talk about this. Don't forget that there are other people here. Normally, King Qiangwei and her group should have arrived as well. After all, this underground palace was made of props and its area is not large, only a few hundred square meters at most. Ming Mei curled her lips. She realized that Sig was changing the subject. A hint of disappointment flashed across her eyes, but she soon smiled again. I have teleported them to a safe place. There are only 2 of us here. She put emphasis on 2, which made the emphasis self-evident and directly refuted the above statement. Sig sighed helplessly. If he had been alone for 300 years, he would have had mental problems long ago. Ming Mei seems normal, just a little radical. For her, fooling around obviously won't work, she has to take it seriously. He asked directly, Ming Mei, what is your world-class prop? Ming Mei did not doubt it and took off the emerald earrings from her ears. This is the heart of nature. It can give the user the ability to listen to the voices of all things. The effect is equivalent to mind reading. It can also work on monsters and the like. It was given to me by a friend who had quit the game. It sounds hard to believe. World-class items are very precious items in Yggdrasil, and being able to give such things away shows that they have a very good relationship. Yamaiko always says that her sister is a genius, and it seems that she handles interpersonal relationships quite well. Sig smiled knowingly, so you were actually eavesdropping on my thoughts just now, but I also had world-class items equipped, so I didn't hear anything. Although Eye of Bara is not often used, its advantage is that it is very convenient for daily equipment, which is much better than Gungnir. Ming Mei stuck out her tongue and was discovered, but she just wanted to make sure Sig had no bad intentions. But why did Brother Sig come with the Platinum Dragon King's token? Have you already formed an alliance? Sig's expression was serious. Listen carefully, Ming Mei, I am going to ask you a serious question, you better answer it seriously. Yeah, okay. If you have to choose a side, will you help the Platinum Dragon King, or stand with me and the President? Of course I won't choose the Platinum Dragon King. Sig was relieved when Ming Mei answered without hesitation. If it wasn't absolutely necessary, he didn't want to do anything to Yamaiko's sister, the girl who had also admired him. But it's still a little too early to believe it now. Ming Mei is very smart. She realized something very quickly. Brother Sig, do you believe me? You really don't understand my feelings. Obviously, my sister and brother Momanga know it. What? How did it get involved with Yamaiko and Ainz again? Chapter 229. A girl's first love is always more memorable. The beauty hidden deep in her heart is constantly beautified over the years and becomes an unattainable white moonlight. People dream when they are asleep, and Ming Mei is no exception. She thought she could let go of this childish relationship, but unexpectedly she became more and more addicted to the dream. When the good memories of the past are intertwined with dreams, the boundary between reality and illusion gradually becomes blurred. Sometimes I dream of meeting my sister again, and sometimes I dream of getting together and playing with old friends. She may even dream of a brave man coming to save her, giving her the kiss of true love that breaks the curse, and the sleeping girl will wake up. Obviously everything is just an illusion, but the long wait is too lonely. Ming Mei has already completed her self-improvement. Yamaiko and Momanga, who once gave love advice, are also witnesses to the relationship. Tears flowed from Ming Mei's eyes, and her eyes lost focus. Her pure white dress was wet with tears. Brother Sig, why can't you be with me? Meeting the one she loves should be extremely happy, but the reality is very cruel, and the other party doesn't even trust her. As the girl cried, Sig finally understood what was going on. He helplessly coaxed her, Ming Mei, calm down. Yamaiko talked to me about this. She wants you to date after you become an adult. As for the president, he probably has good intentions as well. If it were him, he would definitely try to mediate. After all, adults have to be self-aware and cannot watch their friends make mistakes with underage girls. Even though Ming Mei is now over 300 years old, she doesn't seem much different from before and is still very grumpy. If Sig immediately accepted Ming Mei, whom he treated like a younger sister, he would feel very guilty. Ming Mei slowly stopped crying. She knew she was just being naughty, but she couldn't control her emotions at all. After venting her emotions, she felt less sad. Sig explained, I asked you that before just to confirm your position. It's better to make it clear now than to be suspicious later. I don't like mutual suspicion. If it were any other powerful, threatening, uncontrollable factor, he would have killed it long ago without any further ado. Moreover, given Akimi's kind personality, it is unclear whether she can accept Nazarick's style of doing things. These issues are more important than matters of the heart. Ming Mei thought for a while, then suddenly raised her head, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Besides this, can Brother Sig fulfill my other wishes? Sig nodded and smiled gently, well, anything within my ability is fine, as long as you stop crying. Today he finally understood the lethality of tears. If he didn't coax Ming Mei, there would be nothing he could do to her. Ming Mei pursed her lips and poked her finger shyly, true love's kiss. What? I want true love's kiss. Sig was petrified for a moment, but it was okay to just ask for a kiss. Ming Mei also knew that her request was a bit excessive. She knelt on the bed very obediently, her cheeks flushed. A kiss is enough, you don't need to stick out your tongue. Sig covered his face, he was really led astray. Could it be that the Platinum Dragon King taught him this? Mingmei blinked her eyes and looked pitiful. Is it not possible? Don't look. Okay. Mingmei immediately closed her eyes obediently, clasped her hands to her chest and waited excitedly, swallowing her saliva quietly, her body trembling. The shadow cast by the light covered the petite body, and the ambiguous atmosphere in the small space became more and more intense. Obviously nervous, Sig chuckled and placed a light kiss on the forehead. Mingmei opened her eyes, and she quickly understood what had happened. She pouted angrily, "Humph, brother Sig, you are so cunning. I have agreed to your request. Now you should listen to my wish as well. What to do? First, let's get out of here. But I have already made an agreement with the Platinum Dragon King that I cannot leave the seabed. If I break the contract rashly, the sea city will suffer a catastrophic disaster." Mingmei suddenly stopped talking in the middle of her words, and with her intelligence she quickly realized what was happening. She stood up excitedly, "Brother Sig, have you already solved the Platinum Dragon King?" Sig smiled, "Well, the Platinum Dragon King has been imprisoned in Nazarick. He is no longer a threat, so there is no need to worry." Maritime City. As soon as Kang Qiangwei and her group entered the underwater palace, they were teleported to the statue of the goddess of the sea and are currently in a daze. When the merchants around saw that the goddess they believed in was being desecrated by foreigners, they immediately notified the priests of the temple. In just a few minutes, hundreds of people gathered and surrounded the place. Everyone shouted words like expulsion and severe punishment, treating them as sinners. Logis wanted to explain the situation to everyone, but Legili pulled her back and shook her head to stop her. "It's no use explaining at this point. The fanatical believers won't believe it. It's better to think about how to get out of this situation. Stop it all." An unignorable female voice pierced through the noise, drawing everyone's attention. "I saw a young girl appear there at some point. She was slender and tall, with her blonde hair flowing down her back. But even with simple dress, she could not hide her grace. The most shocking thing was that her face was exactly the same as the sea goddess in the statue. It's the goddess. The goddess has come to the world." The exclamations continued, and naturally Kang Qiangwei and her group were forgotten. Sig took the opportunity to appear and took them away directly. Mingmei achieved her goal and used teleportation to leave there. By the time everyone reacted, it was already too late. There was neither the sinner nor the sea goddess at the scene. Everything that had just happened seemed like an illusion. The forbidden area of the sea city, where Mingmei once lived, finally welcomed its owner again. Mingmei sat down and smiled, asking everyone to relax. "Everyone can sit anywhere, but the seat next to me is not allowed." Sig coughed and sat down next to Mingmei helplessly. At this time, Legili completely believed Sig's words. It seemed that the underwater girl was actually his old acquaintance. Charles, the Platinum Dragon King, had no chance of winning from the very beginning. He was defeated completely. Except for Sig, all the others were girls, and it really felt like a girls' tea party. Legili said with a stiff face, "You are the girl from the bottom of the sea. It's been a long time." Mingmei smiled brightly. "My name is Yumas Mingmei. If you don't mind, you can call me Mingmei. What do you think, Sig brother?" Logis was stunned for a moment, Ibiru also jumped up, and Legili was horrified, and they all looked at the man pretending to be Eli. Sig slowly took off his mask, revealing his very handsome face. "Everyone, isn't it a little late to say long time no see now?" Chapter 230. This familiar scene is really impressive. Once, because of the Platinum Dragon King's peeping, in order to prove the sincerity of both parties, Sig revealed his true face first, and Ibiru was forced to take off his mask. That was also the first time the two met. Ibiru slammed the table and pointed at Sig angrily, saying, "No wonder I felt so familiar with him, it turns out it was really you." Gegan quickly controlled the frantic Ibiru and hugged her tightly in his arms. "Haha, our little one was just too excited. I'm so sorry. Let me go, muscle girl." "Kano, calm down." In Ibiru's impression, Legili had never spoken to her so seriously, and she immediately became quiet. Logis felt a tightness in her chest. She finally understood what Eli meant at that time. It turned out that this was the truth. Mingmei observed everyone's expressions with a smile, the emerald earrings on her ears glowing faintly. It was obvious that she was eavesdropping openly. The ability of Heart of Nature is not very strong in Yggdrasil, and can be considered as a useless thing. It is a very subtle one. But this is very practical in reality. You don't have to guess what other people are thinking. It's like cheating. Ming Mei once again showed her kindness. Everyone, I have introduced myself, but I don't know your names yet. With the ready-made steps, the group was finally able to sit down and have a good chat. After introducing each of their names one by one, the name of the fine steel-level adventurer team Kengqiangui was also announced, and the atmosphere was not so tense anymore. Mr. Ming Mei, can you tell me your purpose? Lig Yulet finally couldn't help but speak. She was eager to confirm something. Originally, the matter would have been over if it had been kept secret. If he didn't want to silence him, why would he reveal his true identity at this time? I'm sorry, I didn't explain myself clearly. I can't help the Platinum Dragon King with his request. At the beginning, I said that I would not leave the seabed, and the Platinum Dragon King guaranteed the safety of the Sea City and me. This is indeed the agreement. Ming Mei said seriously, but Brother Sig has already explained the whole story. I won't help someone who wants to hurt my friend. This is the fact, and there is nothing others can say. Kengqiangui was just running errands. To be honest, no one at the scene cared about the life or death of the Platinum Dragon King. Lig Yulet probed again, then why did His Majesty the Holy Dragon King disguise himself as the adventurer Eli? Sig said calmly, it's just to facilitate the operation. Thank you for your hard work during this period. Lig Yulet's eyes lit up, and her tone unconsciously became respectful. You are so polite. Lig Yulet, what's wrong with you? Ibrue really couldn't figure it out. Did she miss something? Logically speaking, Sig belongs to the Sorceress Kingdom and is the force that captured the Platinum Dragon King. And Lig Yulet has always been on the side of the Platinum Dragon King, and even helped after the team was disbanded. She can be said to be the closest partner. If it weren't for the fact that they were from different backgrounds, Ibrue would have suspected that the two were having an affair. Sig took the initiative to guide. Sir, do you want to keep it secret any longer? Lig Yulet gritted her teeth. She knew what she was going to say next. Char killed Rick. I won't help him anymore. What? Ibrue's body was shaking. Her shock at this moment didn't seem fake at all. This was the reaction she would have when hearing unbelievable words. Rick is not only the leader of the team, but everyone recognizes him as a true hero because of his kind and helpful personality. Ibrue had also received a lot of care from Rick, so she respected him very much. Although the Platinum Dragon King deceived everyone, he has always stood on the side of justice. Ibrue only hates him on the surface, but he is actually willing to provide help. But the truth is that it was the Platinum Dragon King who killed Rick. How can anyone believe this? Lig Yulet sighed. In order to eliminate hidden dangers, the Platinum Dragon King will not let players who can be killed survive. This is the reason. To be honest, it's not a smear. Ming Mei agreed, the original agreement was actually just a temporary solution. The amount of information was huge, and several people's minds were a little confused. Could it be that the Platinum Dragon King could really be an evil dragon? Wouldn't they be aiding and abetting the evil? Logis took a deep breath, her expression as ugly as if she was about to cry. Your Majesty the Holy Dragon King, I am not. It's okay, Lucacy, don't blame yourself. Sig obviously didn't take it to heart. Everything has two sides. The Platinum Dragon King is not pure evil, and I am not pure good. What's important is the choice. Logis couldn't wait to reply, I am willing to serve you forever. Their team leader had made the decision, and the rest of the Kengqiangui members had no intention of objecting. The usually noisy Ibrue remained silent. Lig Yulet finally relaxed enough to the point that she almost fainted. After a few people left and only two were left, Ming Mei couldn't help but teased, Sig brother is very popular with women. You mean Laquis? I didn't do this because of her. Sig could have killed Kengqiangui, or captured her and trained her, but today he took the trouble to tame her again. On the one hand, he agreed to Lig Yulet, and on the other hand, he was concerned about Ming Mei's existence and didn't want to leave a bad impression on her. Ming Mei seemed to understand what Sig meant, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. I have grown a lot over the years, so don't underestimate me. After all, she stayed in the other world alone for such a long time and reached an agreement with the Platinum Dragon King. There was no way she could be a purely weak girl. It's just a disguise on the surface, but in fact, it may be more powerful than expected. Sig smiled and rubbed Ming Mei's head, I believe it. Ming Mei held her chin and smiled happily, so, brother Sig, don't always treat me like a child. I can also be competent in the role of a wife. Thump. Sig nearly fell off his chair, this was too literal. By the way, the president must be getting impatient. Do you want to meet him? Momanga nii. No, I should call you Ainz nii now. The pitch-black portal opened, and a figure emitting black smoke walked out of it. The moment he saw the elf girl, Ainz immediately activated the forced calm state. He could only suppress his emotions and said, Mei-chan, it turns out it really is you. Ming Mei rushed over directly, not trying to hide her happiness at all, brother Ainz, long time no see. Sig helplessly looked at the two people hugging each other. She was obviously not this excited when she met him, and she seemed to have cried even longer. It is normal to be so happy when you meet someone from your original world in a different world, especially when that person is your good friend's sister. I knew it would be okay if it was Ming Mei, since you like Sig-san so much. Brother Ainz, it's really embarrassing for you to say that. Sig was originally watching the show, but he couldn't sit still after hearing these words. How dare you say that, old bones? Chapter 231. It can be seen that Ainz is indeed very happy. He is a person who values his companions very much, and he keeps chatting with Ming Mei. They were obviously not very familiar with each other, but like old friends who hadn't seen each other for a long time, Sig was unable to get a word in. Ming Mei was also very cooperative. She was incredibly well behaved, steady yet smart. She was completely different from her previous crybaby appearance. By the way, Ming Mei, you're too lonely here alone. Do you want to go to the Great Tomb of Nazarick? After chatting for a while, Ainz finally remembered the main business. He was too happy and just kept asking questions. Ming Mei chuckled, Ainz-sama, are you inviting me to play again? Ainz was stunned for a moment. What he actually meant was to let Ming Mei stay. It just so happened that Yamaiko's room was empty, so it was more than enough for one person. But judging by Ming Mei's reaction, she seemed to have other ideas. He hesitated for a few seconds and asked tentatively, Mei-chan, do you want to stay in the Sea City? Ming Mei lowered her eyes and said softly, the Sea City was built with Krypton gold props. Many magic circles here also need regular maintenance. The supply of magic power is indispensable. I can't leave easily. I am very grateful for Brother Ainz's kindness. Although I cannot stay here for long, I will definitely visit you often, just like I did before. What Ming Mei said did make sense, but her smile at the end was obviously a bit forced. Ainz was at a loss for words when he saw this. After all, Akemi was not a member of Nazarick, so he could not force her to do anything. Well, you must come and play often. Ming Mei nodded and put on a sweet smile, Brother Ainz, I have finished my story. Now it's time to tell me about your experience of coming to this world. Ainz suddenly fell silent. He had finally come to the part he least wanted to face. He had imagined a scene like this, when he met his former companions, they would definitely ask him why he did such an evil thing. At a time like this, how should I respond? If he said it was for the Great Tomb of Nazarick, others would definitely think he was crazy. He really couldn't bring himself to speak out those villainous acts filled with conspiracy and massacre, especially in front of the pure and kind Ming Mei. Ahem, it's just a trivial matter. It's too embarrassing to talk about it. Ming Mei tactfully did not continue to ask, but took the initiative to change the subject. Actually, I'd rather know about Sig's love history. There must be a lot of outstanding women around him. Ainz fell into a state of autism, and he finally realized that he had said the wrong thing. In fact, he did know Ming Mei's feelings because she had said in front of him and Yamaiko that she would marry Sig when she grew up. Although they were not very familiar with each other, the little girl's courage was impressive. Now they meet again in another world, and it's a hero saving a beauty. This should be a touching pure love story. The premise is that I did not modify Albedo's settings and persuade Sig to start a harem. Ainz thought back to himself at that time and couldn't help but feel guilty. He was just joking at the time and didn't expect it to turn out like this. Sig-san, shouldn't you say this yourself? After all, these are just guides. The one who failed to resist the temptation is not you. At most, it is only a secondary responsibility. The main responsibility is of course the person who started the harem. Sig gave a threatening smile and said, President, you still need to set up the teleportation point. You shouldn't be sitting here doing nothing now. Haha, I almost forgot. Look at my memory. Ainz stood up quickly. He didn't want to stay in this Shura field anymore. It was too scary. As the third person left, Mingmei finally lost control of her emotions. She lowered her head, clutching the hem of her clothes tightly, her vision gradually blurring. Brother Sig, do you already have someone in your heart, so you think I'm annoying? If you don't want to see me, it's okay. I can continue to sleep and wait for my sister to come. By the end of her speech, the girl's voice was choked with sobs and her shoulders twitched slightly. Sig sighed, I do have someone in my heart, but there's no rule that says I can only like one person. Mingmei suddenly looked up and said in shock, Brother Sig, you have a harem. Sig covered his face. It was nothing to have a harem in another world, but when facing the people from his original world, he really didn't want to say it out loud when they first met. This is not a glorious thing, so there is no need to publicize it. Mingmei couldn't help laughing, and with tear marks on her face, she looked a little funny. What? I thought I had no chance. Isn't this easier? Please accept me, Brother Sig. Sig raised his hand to wipe away the tears on Mingmei's face, and flicked her forehead. You can't be so casual about this kind of thing. Although I have a harem, I am also a pure love party. A harem of pure love. Mingmei's eyes widened. It was the first time she heard this. Sig was really helpless. I was just joking. You're not really thinking about it, are you? Feelings can't be rushed. As expected, love can make people blind. A smart girl like Mingmei can also become a fool. Brother Sig, I have a way to verify it. Are you willing to accept it? Mingmei took off her earrings, revealing the heart of nature that could hear other people's thoughts. As long as you use this prop, you will know my intentions. Sig's expression became solemn. No one wanted to have their true thoughts seen. Mingmei was actually willing to accept it and even offered it, which was definitely not a joke. Why don't you let me remove the world-class props and listen to my heart? Although this request was excessive, Sig understood and could satisfy it. Because I want to prove that my love is no less than anyone else's. Mingmei's hands seemed to be shaking. Besides, I'm afraid that Brother Sig hates me. Sig took the earrings, the emeralds glowed faintly, and his ears immediately became noisy. The voices of people in the distance, the sound of the wind and the waves were particularly clear, but of course the clearest voice was the firm voice of the girl beside me. I like Sig brother the most. No matter what happens, I like him. I like him. Sig held his hand, stopped peeking, and couldn't help laughing with his hands covering his mouth. Mei-chan, are you stupid? A blush appeared on Mingmei's face, but she gave up at this moment, grabbed Sig's collar and moved closer. How can kissing the forehead be considered a kiss of true love? Since the prince is unwilling to kiss Sleeping Beauty, the latter has to take the initiative. Bang! There was a loud noise in the sky, and the entire maritime city seemed to be shaking. A scarlet dragon appeared in the sky, its body blocking the sun and casting a huge shadow. I am the Scarlet Flame Dragon King. Let the ocean goddess appear. Chapter 232. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King is also known as the Red Dragon King. He is the Dragon King of the Fire Dragon clan. The Fire Dragon and the Frost Dragon sound like they only differ in attributes, but their strengths are actually very different. The former can be said to be the nemesis of the latter. Its body is made of lava, and it is stronger than other dragons, like an active volcano about to erupt. And the fiery dragon breath filled with explosive energy is said to be able to burn everything. The fire dragon is also one of the top dragon species, possessing both strength and wisdom, but its temper is more explosive than that of ordinary dragons. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King is the strongest fire dragon of the contemporary era. As a leader of the new generation, his level has reached the level of a true Dragon King, reaching above LV80. Although there is a gap in strength between him and the true Dragon King of the same level, he is indeed one of the most promising individuals in the Dragon clan in the past 100 years. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King is also very proud of his own strength. He believes that only with such strength can he be qualified to follow Lord Platinum Dragon King and be called his confidant. Now that their lord is in danger, they naturally have to take action and prepare for rescue. This should be the place that Stinky Mother Dragon mentioned. It seems to be called the Sea City. The Stinky Mother Dragon is another confidant of the Platinum Dragon King and the one with the highest hopes. She possesses wisdom far beyond that of other dragon species and is the actual person in charge of the Platinum base. Even though the Scarlet Flame Dragon King was very unhappy, he had to admit that the other party was better at scheming than him. In order to rescue the Platinum Dragon King as soon as possible, he could only obediently come and ask for external help. Now he only hoped that this woman called the Sea Goddess would honestly agree to help and make things simpler. Damn it, it's the critical moment. Mingmei took a deep breath, and her fists clenched so tightly that they made a creaking sound. She was clearly about to succeed, as the distance between them was only 1 centimeter, and their noses were almost touching. Because of this reckless dragon, the originally romantic kiss turned into a protective hug. Although she also liked the feeling of being hugged tightly, she was still very angry that her good time was interrupted. Ainz-chan, are you and Sig-san okay? Ainz rushed over immediately after hearing the noise. His wide robe did not hinder his pace, and he walked as fast as the wind. When they heard someone coming, they immediately separated. Mingmei was indeed a little reluctant to leave, but in front of her elder brother Ainz, she was still the obedient sister, and now she could only suppress her desire. I'm fine. Even if I'm in danger, Brother Sig will protect me. Brother Ainz, don't worry too much. Ainz breathed a sigh of relief. He was indeed too concerned and confused. Mingmei appears to be a weak girl, but she is a level 100 player after all, and there are few people in this world who can hurt her. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King is a dragon I've never heard of. Sig nodded. He had indeed never heard of it, but since it came to him at this time, the identity of this dragon was not difficult to guess. When I came to the Sea City, I heard from Ligulet that the nearest harbor is the Dragon King's territory. Perhaps that is the Platinum Dragon King's base camp. The main power of the Platinum Dragon King is located in the Far East, which is just the right direction. Mingmei looked up at the sky. Yes, the Red Flame Dragon King is indeed the Platinum Dragon King's confidant. He came here this time probably to seek help. Blue Rose's action was arranged by Ligulet. There was no communication between the two sides, so they sent 2 groups of people. It was most likely a coincidence that they met each other. Sig's eyes gradually turned cold. It's really arrogant to ask for help with such an attitude. Mingmei lowered her eyes. Maybe it's because I'm not good at fighting, so I was looked down upon. She is a forest priest of the faith system, mainly responsible for restoration, has certain auxiliary abilities, and some guerrilla professions. While having a certain attack power, she can also provide powerful recovery effects to herself and her teammates. She is a nurse with good output. Combined with the forest elf race, this combination of professions is very suitable and the distribution is very even. Yanguzi is a healer of mental magic, specialized in defense recovery, commonly known as a healing shield. She can heal herself as well as her teammates, and can also replace the tank profession when necessary. Both sisters have very strong recovery abilities, but they tend to be different, which is also a kind of tacit understanding. Ainz consoled her, Ainz-chan, don't be afraid. We will take care of the Scarlet Flame Dragon King. With Sig's dragon slaying ability and his powerful magic output, killing a dragon is not an easy task. Mingmei shook her head and said solemnly, this is a city on the sea. The sudden appearance of Brother Ainz and Brother Sig may cause unnecessary trouble. I will handle this matter myself. She is the master of the maritime city, a legendary figure with the title of Goddess of the Sea. She is not a weak person who can be bullied at will. But if that's the case, wouldn't that be too much of a stretch? Ainz agreed with Mingmei, but he couldn't help but worry about her safety. The level of the Red Flame Dragon King in the sky is about level 80, but the dragon's attributes in all aspects are very high, much higher than those of players of the same level. Even if Mingmei can win, she will definitely suffer because of her attack power. Sig sighed. Being responsible should be praised, but being stubborn is not a good thing. I will help you as Eli and provide you with the Dragon Slayer buff. Mingmei opened her mouth in surprise. Brother Sig, can you still buff others? Ainz also pricked up his ears. He had never heard of such a skill. Dragon slaying is a very powerful buff. If it can be applied to a group of people, that would be too much. Sig said helplessly, it's only temporary. I can buff certain targets, but the prerequisite is the blending of magic power. Could it be that? Mingmei raised her hand to cover her cheek and poked her finger shyly. Brother Ainz is still here, why are you suddenly talking about something like this? Seeing Mingmei like this, Ainz knew everything and stared at Sig in amazement. Sig was really anxious. It's not what you think, it's a magic mark. I see. Why didn't you say so earlier? Pity. What? Mingmei clapped her hands and immediately smiled. Then it's settled. Brother Sig and I will go deal with the Red Flame Dragon King, and Brother Ainz will provide support from the rear. Ainz nodded. This was all he could do now. The Red Flame Dragon King in the sky was already getting impatient. The crowd gathered below kept chattering, which was really annoying. He was shouting for the sea goddess blessing, but the woman didn't show up. He was so weak and stupid. All it takes is one breath of dragon and they will know what a strong person is. The ocean goddess is just filth, the dragon is the real god. Kang Qiang Gui was mixed in the crowd. As people who knew the inside story, they were not as panicked as the people around them, but they could not help but worry. Look, it's the ocean goddess! Someone in the crowd exclaimed, and everyone looked up at the sky. The blonde girl was dressed in white, her beauty was like a god descending from heaven, but what further proved her identity was her determined eyes. Evil dragon, don't even think about harming the residents of the Sea City. Chapter 233. Armed. Mingmei held a golden longbow in her hand, and her body was covered with silver soft armor that tightly wrapped the exposed skin. Several magic circles appeared around her body. Power of the sun god, blessing of Mother Nature, and the most important thing is Dragon Slayer. She will use this power from her beloved one well. Several buffs have been applied, the longbow has been fully drawn, and all the elements are in place. Mingmei shouted, her eyes flashing with anger, damn you, you should be prepared to pay the price for disturbing others. Wind explosion arrow. The magic arrow turned into a stream of light and flew out. With the blessing of the guaranteed hit attribute, it shot rapidly towards the dragon's vital points. Sig was not far behind Mingmei, so he naturally heard what was said. He felt helpless at this moment. It is indeed very dangerous to make a girl angry. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King had not yet reacted to what was happening. Even though he realized he was being targeted, he did not take the small arrow seriously. With his own stats and the defensive power of dragon scales, even if he was hit, it would only be superficial injuries. He was more puzzled by Mingmei's aggressive behavior. This was different from what that stinky female dragon said. How could they just start a fight directly? The time for thinking was extremely short, and the arrow had already arrived. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King was about to block it, but the arrow exploded before it touched the dragon scales, forming a terrifying incandescent energy wave. The blinding light stole most people's attention, making it impossible to look straight ahead. You stinky woman, how dare you sneak attack me? The intense pain made the Scarlet Flame Dragon King furious. It was impossible for an arrow alone to cause such damage. There must be something wrong. His eyes turned red and sparks came out of his mouth, and he obviously wanted to end the battle with dragon breath. After all, Mingmei has only recovered her job, and her defense is relatively weak. If she takes the dragon's breath head-on, she will most likely be seriously injured. Sig naturally would not allow that to happen. His eyes turned into vertical pupils and he launched a deterrent skill that could cause chaos towards the Scarlet Flame Dragon King. Dragon's magic eye. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King fell into a brief stagnation, and the dragon breath that was accumulating energy also extinguished. Mingmei seized the opportunity and immediately shot another arrow, followed by another one. As she continued to draw the bow and shoot, her MP was rapidly decreasing, but this did not affect her speed. The dense arrows formed a terrifying rain of arrows, like blooming fireworks. But the Red Flame Dragon King, who was at the center of the explosion, was in a miserable state. His dragon scales were shattered, and his flesh and blood flew out. He looked extremely miserable. Roar! The Scarlet Flame Dragon King flickered his wings and forced himself to briefly escape from the rain of arrows. Flames burned on his body and he rushed directly towards Mingmei. He abandoned his defense, allowing arrows to hit him, and launched an attack recklessly. Mingmei raised her hand and released a magic barrier, which collided violently with it. But the MP that was quickly consumed just now still had an effect, and the Scarlet Flame Dragon King gradually gained the upper hand. Even though his HP was less than half, he couldn't help but laugh out loud, "You lowly ant, go to hell." Perhaps under normal circumstances, the Scarlet Flame Dragon King would seriously analyze the current situation. After all, his IQ is not low. But he was now so angry that he had completely forgotten his mission. He could not care about anything else and only wanted to get rid of the hateful woman in front of him. Mingmei smiled and put away the magic barrier, finally ready. MP drops to 0, and summoning magic is successfully activated. Summon high-level spirits. As for the attribute of the elf, it is of course water attribute, and the strongest summon she can summon is the LV90 Root Water Elf. Huge waves surged on the sea, and columns of water shot up into the sky, quickly condensing into shape. The shape was actually several times larger than the dragon, and the final image looked very much like a long-haired woman. It seems that people worship Mingmei as the goddess of the sea, most likely because of the water spirit. The scene was so shocking that Ainz and Sig were also shocked. They had never seen a water elf of this size before. This place is located on the sea, which is a unique advantage for the water elves and provides them with an endless supply of power. The conflicting attributes and unfavorable environment meant that this was bound to be an unfair game. The flames all over the Scarlet Flame Dragon King's body were extinguished directly, and he was slapped into the sea. When he struggled to get up again, he was also beaten. This is the first time I've seen the Root Water Elf beat up the Dragon King. At this point, the battle could basically be declared a victory. Mingmei turned around and smiled sweetly, "Brother Sig, thank you for helping me contain the Red Flame Dragon King." Sig said helplessly, "I'm afraid you can handle it without my help." It seems that he was too concerned and felt that Mingmei would get hurt, so he took action naturally. "If this continues, I feel like I'm really going to get stuck." The girl who had waited for him for hundreds of years expressed her love so passionately. No one could resist it. Mingmei couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth, "That's enough. Sometimes you don't need to make things too clear, things like feelings should be felt slowly. Long live the goddess! Long live the goddess!" Witnessing the sea goddess hunting the dragon with their own eyes, people knelt on the ground and worshipped her like fanatical believers. As for the stranger who appeared with the goddess, no one noticed him at all. Sig's original intention was not to attract attention, and this result was exactly what he wanted. As for Mingmei, she also consolidated the foundation of her rule and paved the way for taking over the maritime city later. It is also thanks to the Red Flame Dragon King that such a perfect comeback was possible. "My goddess of the sea, it is time to respond to your subjects. Declare victory." Mingmei smiled, with just the right amount of shyness, "Brother Sig, then I won't refuse." The half-dead Scarlet Flame Dragon King was sent into the portal, and the other side was naturally Nazarick. Since it was inconvenient for him to show up, Ainz left first. No matter when, parting is always the saddest thing. Sig will leave with Kang Qiangwei and his group, while Mingmei will stay in the Sea City and take over the place as soon as possible. Although she is the master of the maritime city and her prestige is high enough, it will still take some effort to complete the integration. Seeing the girl about to cry, Sig comforted her, "Don't worry, I will send Yuri to assist you." Yuri Alpha is not only the eldest sister of the maid group, but also an NPC created by Yamaiko. The personality of an NPC will always be like that of its creator, and this is also very obvious in Yuri. Yuri, like Yamaiko, is an older sister and also possesses the qualities of a teacher, so it is most appropriate for her to come and accompany. When talking about her sister, Mingmei could no longer hold back the sadness in her heart and tears began to fall. Sig hugged her in his arms, lowered his head and kissed her rosy lips. After a brief moment of stunned silence, Mingmei responded and they entangled with each other. The sea breeze brings a salty and humid smell, making it difficult to tell whether it is tears or wind. Chapter 234. On the 5th level of the great underground tomb of Nazarick, the blizzard was still raging, and the extremely cold weather brought a bone-chilling chill. "Where is this place?" The unconscious Red Flame Dragon King finally woke up. He clearly remembered that he was fighting, so how could he appear in this place covered with ice debris? For fire dragons, the cold is not terrible, but low temperatures can also make them very uncomfortable. "Hey, isn't this Qi Yan? Long time no see." Hearing a teasing voice beside him, the Scarlet Flame Dragon King turned his head abruptly, only to see a dragon face approaching him. Perhaps because his life is too comfortable, the Frost Dragon King has obviously gained weight, and his body shape is getting closer to that of his son Hijamar. Hijamal, the famous fat dragon, has gradually become slimmer due to his high-intensity work. At this time, the Frost Dragon King was grinning with his teeth bared. Not only did he look like he deserved a beating, but he also looked inexplicably disgusting. The Red Flame Dragon King sneered, "So it's a frost dragon. How dare a weakling like you appear in front of me?" Fire dragons and frost dragons have always been at odds with each other, and the two dragon species often fight for resources, which is considered a lifelong feud. In the beginning, the frost dragon could still hold its own with its original primordial magic. Later, the dragon clan was massacred by the 8 Desire Kings, most of the true dragon kings died, and the way to learn primordial magic was also blocked. The frost dragon was severely injured and never recovered from that. Every battle with the fire dragon ended in failure, and in the end it had no choice but to escape. Decades ago, the Frost Dragon King had participated in a battle with the fire dragon. At that time, he was just an ordinary minion. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King was a very famous dragon at that time. He was so powerful that he could fight 5 at a time and not be at a disadvantage. He killed many frost dragons. The Frost Dragon King was truly frightened by that battle. He fled the battlefield as quickly as possible and chose to hide in the remote Angelicia Mountains. However, he was very confident in his own race and did not think that the Frost Dragon was weaker than the Fire Dragon, so he did not lose his fighting spirit after being hit. The subsequent story is about occupying the old dwarf capital, trying hard to have children, and establishing a great dragon empire. Although it was not successful in the end, it was still very satisfying to see the former enemy become what he is today. The Frost Dragon King said, "It doesn't matter if you remember, but your end may be miserable. Your master is also imprisoned now." "What?" The Scarlet Flame Dragon King stood up suddenly, and the chains on his body immediately emitted light, quickly tightening and binding him tightly. He was actually defeated and captured in the enemy's lair. The ocean goddess actually colluded with the filth and predicted their actions in advance. No, that woman was also filthy, but she used sweet words to deceive Lord Platinum Dragon King. The frost dragon in front of him was a real dragon. "You, a traitor to the dragon clan, actually colluded with filth." Frost Dragon King spread his hands. He was too disdainful to argue about this, just tell the truth. Why be so stubborn? Since becoming Lord Sig's followers, their family moved to the 5th level. The environment here is very suitable for frost dragons to live, and all kinds of supplies are abundant. Their immediate superior, Lady Shaltir, did not treat them unfairly and gave them a lot of treasures as rewards. This was simply a heavenly day. So what if he was scolded a few times? He just followed his heart and surrendered. Being a human requires you to be flexible and adaptable, and the same goes for being a dragon. Senior 7-colored Dragon King took a detour because of his pride as the true Dragon King, but Senior Frost Dragon King didn't suffer at all, and the benefits of kneeling quickly were reflected. "You're dreaming." In the eyes of the Red Flame Dragon King, this looked like a smug villain, and he couldn't help but grit his teeth even louder. "Oh, you finally woke up, but you seem a little grumpy. I love to interrogate people with bad tempers." A hoarse, neutral voice sounded in the distance. The Frost Dragon King shuddered and immediately took several steps back, mustering up his courage to not flee immediately. The sound came from far away and gradually got closer. Surrounded by several torture demons, the newcomer finally appeared. Nerost Painkiller, one of the 5 worst position, is a brain-eater and a special intelligence interrogator in the ice prison. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King fell into rare silence when he saw the wriggling unknown creature. Nihilister's skin was blue and his body was bloated, making him look like a drowned corpse. His tight black straitjacket was stretched out of shape, and his head was shaped like an octopus with 6 tentacles. She has such a disgusting appearance, but she calls herself an older sister and uses a girlish tone. It's really uncomfortable. Even though the Frost Dragon King had seen it several times before, he only dared to lower his head at this moment and did not dare to look directly at it. Nerost also noticed the Frost Dragon King at this time, and twisted her body coquettishly. "Aren't you a follower of Lord Sig? Why are you here?" The Frost Dragon King answered honestly, "Lord Nerost, I am here to persuade the Red Flame Dragon King to give up the information. Lord Sig also knows about this. So this is Lord Sig's order. I'm going to start the torture next. Do you want to watch here? I will not disturb you here. Master Nerost is a professional in this area." Nerost laughed, his long tongue sticking out, revealing a circle of jagged teeth in his mouth. "Give my regards to Sig-sama. Don't forget to do the same to Ainz-sama. Although she thinks that her charm exceeds that of Albedo and Shaltir and that she is the best in Nazarick, there are too many women around Lord Sig, so it seems that it is a good idea to capture Lord Ainz." The Frost Dragon King let out a long sigh and ran away so fast. "Okay, let's start here too." Nerost took out a special metal rod with several long protruding spikes on the tip, like a thin version of a mace. Several torture demons also surrounded him and used magic to firmly control the Red Flame Dragon King. "Damn you, what do you want to do? I will never betray Lord Platinum Dragon King." Nerost twisted his body and walked over slowly. "Sister, I heard that you are very rude to women and attacked the Supreme Being. It seems that you need to be punished." From the increasingly terrified look in the Scarlet Flame Dragon King's eyes, he also understood the purpose of the mace, and painful wails echoed throughout the ice prison. The human body is too fragile and can be easily tortured to death, and the mind is easily confused, but dragons are not like that. Therefore, Ainz did not waste energy on searching the memory and directly handed over the interrogation of the Red Flame Dragon King to his subordinates. However, the Red Flame Dragon King did not seem to hold out for long before he confessed. Even though it was good news, Ainz was still a little worried. Sig-san, I always feel that the Platinum Dragon King has a backup plan. I hope I can get useful information this time. Sig said calmly, don't worry, we will fight back if an enemy comes, and we will block the flood with earth. At present, he just needs to figure out what these guys are trying to do, and hope that the Red Flame Dragon King will not let him down. Chapter 235 Sorceress Kingdom, Midgard. Ever since the war with the Council Nation, Albedo had felt a vague sense of uneasiness, and her efficiency in handling official business had also decreased. Lord Sig didn't even see her after the war and went straight to the theocracy. Is that half-elf kid really that attractive? She's obviously the most perfect. Albedo gritted her teeth, black air came out of her body, and she almost broke the pen in her hand. But after she thought about it carefully, she quickly calmed down. Things must not be that simple. Lord Ainz specifically ordered that Lord Sig should not be contacted unless necessary, which means that he is actually busy. I heard from my subordinates that there was a new prisoner in Bingja prison, and it seemed that Lord Ainz had brought him back. He was directly handed over to Narasta for interrogation without even letting her take over. This series of abnormal events gives me a feeling that a storm is about to come. Could it be that she was exposed? Albedo did secretly form the Supreme Hunting Team. In order to avoid being discovered, she remained highly vigilant. Except for the executor Albedo, no one else knew about it. With her ability, it is no problem for her to hide it from everyone. But in the Great Tomb of Nazarick, in addition to the Supreme Being, there are two others who possess the same level of wisdom as her. Pandora only likes to stay in the treasure hall, occasionally acting as a substitute for Lord Ainz, and basically does not participate in management affairs. If this is true, then the informer is most likely Demiurge. Albedo, come to the ice prison. After receiving the message from Ainz, Albedo immediately stood up and said, yes, I understand. She breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was not Lord Sig who called her, otherwise she would be really doomed. By the way, Sig is here too. He has something to say to you later. Ah. What happened? Albedo, is that you calling? Albedo quickly covered her mouth. She was the chief guardian of Nazarick and the only wife of Lord Sig. How could she make such an embarrassing sound? Excuse me, Master Ainz. I was simply too excited. Please tell Master Sig that I will be there immediately. Well, come quickly, there is something important to discuss. After saying this, the communication ended. Ainz looked at the depressed Scarlet Flame Dragon King in the cell and couldn't help but sigh. Although he had anticipated that the Platinum Dragon King would not be so easy to deal with, he did not expect that he had so many backup plans. It was really a headache. Sig was also a little helpless at this time. He really couldn't underestimate these old guys. After Albedo informed Demiurge, she immediately used the power of the ring to teleport to the ice prison. In front of the prison door where the dragon was imprisoned, the two supreme beings were naturally there. Demiurge was standing behind, and there was also the guardian of this place, Narasta. Lord Ainz's expression did not change much, and Demiurge also had his usual smiling face, looking no different from usual. Albedo swallowed quietly and looked towards Sig's face, only to meet his gaze. For Lord Sig, she had done something unforgivable, and she couldn't help but kneel down and apologize. Sig, adult, very. Sig was quick to act and immediately grasped Albedo's slender waist, letting her lean against him. I'm sorry, Albedo. I'll explain the matter of the Scarlet Flame Dragon King and the Sea City to you later. For now, please focus on the present. Yerbend blinked his eyes, which means he was not exposed at all. Sig held her mouth. It's okay. I know everything. Albedo's eyes widened, as if she had really been discovered, but Sig-sama comforted her and told her that it was okay. Pink bubbles appeared from nowhere, and the icy prison where the prisoners were held was also filled with the scent of love. Demiurge pushed up his glasses and kindly reminded her, Albedo, you need to pay more attention to your image. Sig smiled and let go of his hand. Yes, we can't delay the important matter, the president is still waiting. Although Albedo longed for this tenderness, she knew that this was not the right time, so she could only slowly stand up and say, "I'm sorry." "No problem." Ainz coughed twice and got straight to the point, "Narostet, you will be the one to make the report." Narost twisted his bloated body and walked over, "As you command, Master Ainz." Apart from his unacceptable appearance, Nihilst was indeed very capable and had extracted all the information that the Scarlet Flame Dragon King knew. Apart from those minor details, the two new names are very noteworthy. One of them is the Platinum Dragon King's trusted Dragon King, also the Stinky Mother Dragon mentioned by the Red Flame Dragon King, named Silver Star Dragon King. The second is the Rotten Coffin Dragon King, the undead who is about to be resurrected. The former is good at strategy, and the latter is a dragon of the same level as the Platinum Dragon King. He is extremely powerful and was once a member of the Six Dragon Alliance. It is known that one of the Platinum Dragon King's backup plans is to let his confidants remove the seal of the Rotten Coffin Dragon King and obtain a powerful helper. Sig didn't know the Silver Star Dragon King, but he knew the Rotten Coffin Dragon King very well. That creature could no longer be considered a dragon. Logically speaking, a Dragon King who died or transformed into an undead being does not have the ability to use original magic, and his soul power cannot be restored on its own. With his original primordial magic, the Rotten Coffin Dragon King transformed the one-time sacrifice into absorbing and storing the souls, and condensing them in his body to fill the gap of the undead, thereby achieving the effect of using primordial magic. But because soul energy cannot be restored, he can only constantly replenish his soul and increase his MP. After becoming undead, the Rotten Coffin Dragon King is no longer restricted by the true Dragon King and can learn necromancy-level magic. He becomes stronger entirely by exploiting bugs. This also has disadvantages. Once the soul is consumed, it will turn into a zombie dragon. In order to maintain his powerful strength and self-awareness, the Rotten Coffin Dragon King spent hundreds of years accumulating, creating one dead country after another, and collecting tens of millions of souls. This alone is certainly not enough to deal with enemies at the level of the 8 Desire Kings. More and more souls are needed. The Rotten Coffin Dragon King sacrificed himself to deal with the players and even gave up his identity as the Dragon King, but his persistence also turned into a disaster. If left unchecked, this world will be devastated. Finally, under the leadership of the Loving Mother, a new alliance was formed, the Rotten Coffin Dragon King was forced into hibernation, and an extremely powerful seal was placed on him, and all this came to an end. In terms of stance, the Rotten Coffin Dragon King is indeed on the side of the Platinum Dragon King and will become a somewhat tricky enemy. And once this so-called partner of justice appears, it will probably cause even greater casualties. I really don't know whether this is to save the world or to destroy the world. Inside, it seems that we must stop the Silver Star Dragon King. We must not let the Rotten Coffin Dragon King wake up. Sig did not respond, but suddenly asked, "Hey, Red Flame Dragon King, where is the sealed place of the Rotten Coffin Dragon King?" The Scarlet Flame Dragon King had been tortured to the point of insanity, and he subconsciously answered, "A mountain range in the Central Continent." Central Continent? Looks like there's no need to stop the resurrection. Ainz turned his head sharply and said, "Sig-san, what do you mean?" Sig smiled and said, "President, have you forgotten? That place is the territory of the subhumans." Chapter 236. The territories of the 6 major countries located in the center of the continent are very vast, and human countries are probably only the size of one area of a major country. Sub-races generally have strong physical fitness and their level of civilization is slightly lower than that of humans, but there are also those that are more advanced than human civilization. Among them, the Orc Federation and the Minotaur Kingdom are relatively powerful in terms of military force, and a war has broken out between the two countries. The Orc Federation is invincible with its cavalry composed of centaurs and Grem behemoths, while the Tauran nation holds the items left behind by the player's Tauran sage. After a fierce battle, the original 8 centaurs Grems of the Orc Federation were reduced to only 4. The Minotaur Kingdom also consumed a lot of props, and the two sides were ultimately unable to determine the winner. Another famous country is the Ogre Kingdom. They love to eat people. It is said that the food they use to entertain guests is 6-month-old babies in their mother's wombs. These 3 countries all treat humans as food, and only the Minotaur country, under the leadership of the Minotaur sage, has elevated humans from the status of food to that of slaves. In order to conquer the world and build a unified empire, eating the people is obviously not allowed. These 3 countries are obviously the focus of attention. The Minotaur lady who was once rescued will come in handy at this time. In fact, a long time has passed since the seven-colored Dragon King was captured, and the rescued Minotaur lady has been staying in the Magic Kingdom. This wasn't actually a conspiracy, but she was pregnant and couldn't make the long journey. That's right, that's the child of the seven-colored Dragon King. The gestation period of Minotaurs is shorter than that of humans, and because the child is of mixed blood, she gave birth prematurely just a few days ago. The little bull-headed man with dragon blood is exceptionally strong, his hair emits a faint colorful light, and his eyes are like those of a herbivore, but he inherited his father's vertical pupils. There is nothing special about him for the time being. Demiurge suddenly realized, I see. Everything is under the control of the Supreme Being. I am far from being able to catch up. The others looked as if they understood. It turned out that they were stupid. The Supreme One could actually predict how the current situation would develop. Ainz wanted to refute that it was not the case. Who would have thought that she would really get pregnant, and give birth at the critical moment? All these coincidences seemed to be carefully arranged, but more like they were controlled by an invisible hand, always trying to preserve his image in the hearts of his subordinates. But the person was brought back by Sig. Could he have thought of this a long time ago? What the hell? Sig was a little confused at this moment. He thought that the Minotaur had been sent back to the Minotaur Kingdom long ago. After all, his original intention was to use the kindness of rescue to first establish connection between the Magic Kingdom and the Minotaur Kingdom, and there was nothing more. Sig calmed down and said, in that case, let Sebastian escort the Minotaur mother and son back home. Among the Guardians, Sebastian may not be the strongest, but he is the most balanced. There is no need to worry about his strength, and he is not inferior in affinity. There is no one more suitable than him to represent the Sorceress Kingdom in a diplomatic mission to the Minotaur Kingdom, a country that has never been visited. Ainz nodded. It's just that Sebastian's human appearance might cause trouble in a demi-human country. Albedo suggested, just let Sebastian switch to his half-dragon form. He can do it. Although Sebastian looks like a white-haired old man, his actual age does not match his actual age. It is just because Takamai's basic image is set like this. Perhaps it is because older butlers can better demonstrate professionalism, and white-haired old men are more in line with people's impression of hermits. Dragon people are a multimorphous alien species, and their three forms can be transformed at will. Sig also specially used paid items to change his appearance quite a bit, and his three forms do look more handsome. In order to fit the world champion armor on his body, Takamai also molded his insect face into the shape of a head armor. After all, being handsome is a lifelong thing, and everyone has the same idea. Sig smiled and said, just tell the Minotaur Kingdom that the corrupted Coffin Dragon King will be resurrected. Whether they believe it or not, our message has been conveyed. It depends on their reaction. Although the rotten Coffin Dragon King is indeed very strong, there is no need to worry about not being able to defeat it, because it is Ainz's exclusive monster. The rotten Coffin Dragon King that appeared in the original works spin-off was killed by Suzuki Satoru, Flying Squirrel, who traveled through time alone. Now that Ainz has traveled through Nazarick together, and with him as a dragon-slaying expert, it will be easier to solve the problem. Sig was worried that he couldn't quickly shape Long into a villain, but now the opportunity had come to him, and he also had a reason to conquer the 6 central countries. Who says enemies can't help? The Silver Star Dragon King is simply the best legacy left by the Platinum Dragon King. The Scarlet Flame Dragon King felt a chill. He looked tremblingly at the people who were discussing something, and unconsciously recalled the inhumane pain. Ainz agreed to the plan for the time being. He turned around and asked, by the way, what should we do with this dragon? Narast finally found an opportunity to interrupt, I suggest castration. He has no respect for women, and even that part is the source of sin. The Red Flame Dragon King widened his eyes. He had no doubt that Narast could really do it. Sig shook his head, although there is no great use in keeping it, but after all, Mingmei caught the Red Flame Dragon King, so it would be better to ask her opinion. Indeed, then let's keep him locked up for now, and let Demiurge take charge of him. Yes, sir. Demiurge was naturally very happy as he had a new breeding experimental subject. Although the Elf King is of a high level, his physical strength is average, so you still have to be careful about wear and tear when using him. The 7-colored Dragon King was originally the most suitable, but because he has to study the origin magic, he cannot participate for the time being. The Red Flame Dragon King will be the best substitute. However, what concerned him more was the identity of Mingmei. She was brought up by the Supreme Being and was able to subdue the Scarlet Flame Dragon King. Could she be that person's sister? Albedo naturally heard it as well. She was trying hard to resist asking questions as her fingers were tightly grasping the hem of her skirt. Ainz was very tactful and led everyone away. He was left to explain Demiurge's situation, and Albedo was left to Sig. Sig used the guild ring and took Albedo to his private chambers. He sat down in front of the French window and raised his hand to invite, Albedo, come here. Although the scenery outside the window is a projected image, it is indeed real and you can see an extremely beautiful night sky. Albedo walked forward slowly. She still remembered the scene when she first came here. Lord Sig was also so gentle at that time. Lord Sig, please don't abandon me. I will be a good boy from now on and will never do anything without telling you. Albedo was so eager to prove herself that she shed tears, revealing her most vulnerable side. Sig took Albedo's hand and intertwined them skillfully. This was the only way to calm her down. Although I am happy with Mingmei, I always feel guilty. Albedo proved the truth herself, the queen is indeed the most perfect. Sig adult. It's okay. Didn't I already tell you that I will explain everything to you next? Chapter 237. Albedo's original intention in establishing the Supreme Hunting Team was to prevent the guys who abandoned Nazarick from stealing the fruits of success and taking control of Nazarick. Because the most basic setting has been changed to being in love with Sig, she will not show mercy even if Kui Yulo arrives. Although this approach is extreme, it is essentially for the purpose of maintaining stability and is not a bad thing. Sig didn't think there was anything wrong with this. If it were Ainz, he might even be troubled and entangled. At all times, the creator has the highest priority for NPCs, with Albedo being the only exception. Even if Xiao Di is a loyal minister, he probably wouldn't be able to kill his creator Albert. They will obey orders, but may commit suicide directly. If the Supreme Beings have disagreements, the NPCs of Nazarick will also each serve their own masters, and division will be the inevitable result. It is better to eliminate the dangerous factors in advance to ensure that there is no risk. From a rational point of view, there is nothing wrong with this. After all, they are just online gaming friends and they are not really that familiar with each other. This is not a game. It involves real interests and must always be considered. But from an emotional point of view, killing a fellow villager and friend silently is still too cold-blooded. Precisely because he knew more information, Sig understood Albedo's approach very well, so he acquiesced, but this did not mean that he supported it. Some things must be made clear. I don't really like the idea of abandoning Ainz Olgaun's companions, but it's not that simple to decide whether or not to kill them. Albedo lowered her head. I have overstepped my bounds. If there is anything wrong, just punish me. Please do not leave. Although she is the chief guardian and commands all NPCs, how can she be qualified to decide the life and death of the Supreme Being? Lord Sig did not accuse her directly, probably just to save her face. Albedo, don't be so reserved in front of me. I don't mean to blame you. I went to the Sea City to look for Mingmei without telling you just to avoid trouble. Really? Even if it was Yamaiko's sister Akimi, if she stood on the opposite side of Nazarick, I might kill her, so I don't think your idea is wrong. Sig said helplessly, the Supreme Hunting Team is just unnecessary. It is enough to just search for the existence of the relevant players, because no other Supremes will come here. Albedo looked up in surprise, obviously shocked by the news. So, did I do anything unnecessary? Sig consoled him, the president and I didn't tell you before for the sake of Nazarick's stability. I should have told you earlier. Mingmei's incident was just an accident. Albedo felt a little depressed. She really shouldn't have acted on her own. The decision of the Supreme Being was never wrong. Sig smiled as he straightened Albedo's messy hair and put a sapphire hairpin on her head. I bought this in the Sea City. I think it will suit you very well. It is indeed beautiful. Albedo raised her hand and touched the hairpin. There was no magical fluctuation on it. It was just an ordinary decoration, but her heart began to beat violently. Lord Sig, is this specially for me? Yes, I do. Albedo's dejection was gone, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly, and her shoulders trembled slightly, obviously trying hard to hold back her happiness. Lord Sig, I did something wrong no matter what, and even my wife should be punished. Sig was about to refuse, but then he saw Albedo kneeling on the ground and slowly taking off her clothes, revealing her fair and beautiful body with only her black hair covering the key parts, making her look even more charming. Forget the punishment. Albedo's body was covered in pink as she said earnestly, my body is stronger than Shalter's. Please don't have pity on me. As a warrior specialized in defense, even without armor, his terrifying defense is difficult to break through. Therefore, it is obvious that when making such a request, the real purpose is not to drink. Sig covered his face helplessly. He brought Albedo to the room just to clarify what had happened during this period, not to do this kind of thing. It's just my wife's request, so as a husband I must fulfill it. At the same time, a major event occurred in the theocracy. The night suddenly became as bright as day, and almost everyone was attracted and looked up at the sky with curiosity or fear. Everyone alive today had witnessed Jaldabaoth's attacks, so naturally their vigilance had become even stronger. Ainz frowned, and Clementine beside him also looked unhappy. What are you doing again? And it's when he's not around. The fully armed Juisijwiming walked out carrying a scythe, followed closely by Kuro. The rest of the Black Scripture members also went out, except for Astrology Kyunli, because she was frightened and fainted during the investigation. Buzz. Accompanied by a dazzling white light, the creature in the sky finally revealed its true form. It was actually a humanoid angel with 6 pairs of wings. The halo above his head was a special geometric shape, and his entire body was emitting a faint glow. Even his hair was exceptionally eye-catching, refracting colorful light, like a rainbow. Although the face was blurry, it was still very beautiful and it was difficult to tell whether it was male or female. Even if the sunshine scripture that can summon angels is there, it is likely that it will not be able to recognize what kind of angel this is. The highest-ranking angel sealed in the demon sealing crystal is the 7th-rank Archangel of Majesty, and the existence in front of him is obviously much more powerful. That overwhelming presence makes people dare not look directly at it. Even Juisijiming felt a great threat. You know, her level is close to 90, and those who are stronger than her can only be above LV90, or even level 100. She had read the classification of angels in the scriptures of the church, and her conjecture gradually came up with an answer. Sure enough, this is the highest level seraph. The seraph slowly opened his eyes, his gaze fixed directly on the strongest man here, who also revealed his identity. He raised his hand, and a holy light flashed, directly binding Juisijwiming, who was equipped with a divine weapon, and then immediately tore the space apart. I am Vertelos of Aleontius. Please ask your master to come to me. After leaving these words, the seraph disappeared. Ainz turned his head and found that Juisijiming was indeed missing. The other party's goal had obviously been achieved. Because the opponent's attack was too fast, no one could even react, and Kuro didn't have time to stop it. It should have been a forced teleportation magic. Quinn was very calm, as if he had expected this. Clementine, notify Lord Sig immediately. Chapter 238. In the center of the great desert south of the theocracy, there is a floating sky city named Aleontius. Clear water flows down from the castle, continuously nourishing the city below. It is protected by a magical barrier, forming a rare oasis. It is said that there are 30 guardians guarding this place and only 2 people are known to have been here. One is Rick, the leader of the 13 heroes, who not only successfully entered the Sky City, but also borrowed many magic props. The other person was Flutter, who also wanted to emulate the former, but was ruthlessly rejected. Although the ending is different, it also proves that the justice value of the gatekeeper of Sky Castle should be quite high. If it was Shaltir, she would not waste any time and would just kill him directly. Ligurite and Flutter were summoned together, and both were a little surprised when they saw each other, as they had actually met once before. They were close in age, both were powerful magic casters, and both had research on the undead, so it was inevitable that they would pay attention to each other. However, when it comes to controlling the undead, the triple magic caster is far inferior to the undead master. Flutter raised his hand and greeted with a smile, "Long time no see, Master Ligurite." Ligulet nodded in response. "I have established a new magic court in the courtyard and am currently studying magic. I wonder if there is a chance for us to work together." Flutter stroked his beard and made a direct invitation. There was no doubt that Ligulet's magical talent was not inferior to his. Flutter had been jealous of him before, but now that everyone was working for the Sorceress Kingdom, there was no need to care so much. Moreover, Ligulet knows some method to prolong her life. If we can get her to join us, it will also be helpful for future research. Ligulet had a strange expression on her face. She didn't expect to be invited. "I'm just offering my help and will retire later." "Thank you for your kindness, Excellency." "Retire? Flutter's voice became louder, and he asked incredulously, "Are you sure you want to give up the opportunity to serve the Sorceress Kingdom? Researching forbidden magic is where people like us find our worth." If it was anyone else, Flutter wouldn't have said so much. Apart from being jealous, he actually admired Ligulet. Ligulet shook her head firmly, "Sorry, I didn't mean that." Due to different opinions, this conversation was bound to end unpleasantly. The two walked into the room in silence and immediately noticed the serious atmosphere. Sig got straight to the point and said, "Tell us what you know about Sky City." Flutter was stunned for a moment, then immediately began to narrate the entire process of his search for the Sky Castle, including the humiliation of being rejected. At first he thought that with his own abilities and reputation, even if he couldn't match the 13 heroes, the chances of him successfully borrowing magic items were very high. But he didn't expect that the other party was unwilling to pay attention to him at all. No matter how hard he talked, it was of no avail. In the end, he had to return empty-handed. The man guarding the gate is called Lekasai. He has a very arrogant personality and seems to look down on humans. Even though this happened 100 years ago, Flutter still remembered it clearly, which shows how deeply the scene was deeply rooted in people's minds. "Well, thank you for your help." Flutter knelt respectfully. "Sig-sama, you are too kind. This is my duty." "Ligulet, do you know what happened to Rick in Sky City?" Ligulet, whose name was called, came back to her senses and said without hesitation, "I don't know the specific situation. The leader has the best relationship with Charles, so he should have told him in detail." "I see. The Platinum Dragon King knows best." Ligulet was about to nod subconsciously, but she quickly came to her senses. In addition to the oversight in the name, she was keenly aware of something terrible. At first, Rick and the Platinum Dragon King had the best relationship. They were almost inseparable and there was no sign of rift between them. It was because the memory was too real that Ligulet didn't believe that the Platinum Dragon King would kill Riku just because of groundless suspicion, but the motive was unclear. Now that she thought about it carefully, there must be something else going on that she didn't know. For example, the leader revealed his affection for Sky City, and the Platinum Dragon King was worried that he would lean towards that side. Ligulet's face turned pale. She felt that she had touched upon the truth and only needed to break through the window paper. The leader once said that the person who lent him the props was very friendly and beautiful, and seemed to have a lot of wings. It is not difficult to infer from Flutter's words that this person cannot be Lekishi, so the answer is obvious. He has control over items and wants to make friends with players. He is the Seraph Veltros. The other party captured Juisajiming at this time, most likely to blackmail him, and their target may be the guild weapon that can decide the fate of Sky City. Sig's face was cold. He did regard the theocracy as a force to disperse risks, but kidnapping his woman directly was simply a provocation. He didn't know whether to be angry or laugh when seeing this way of provoking a war. However, this Vertelos did not harm anyone from the theocracy. He left in a hurry after leaving only one sentence, which obviously had other meanings. At least for a certain period of time, Juisijiming is safe, and she is the daughter of the Elf King and has perfectly inherited the king's appearance. The Elf King's father was a light forest elf warrior among the 8 Desire Kings, so naturally Juisajiming also has the blood of the 8 Desire Kings flowing in his body. Although the NPCs in Sky City will not actively help people with the bloodline of the 8 Desire Kings, they will most likely not intentionally harm them. Although Sig had anticipated that the church would be attacked, he was still quite annoyed after Juisajiming was actually captured. Things keep happening one after another, without stopping for a moment. Fortunately, Sebastian has already taken the Minotaur lady to the central continent. The problems there shouldn't be too big, so he just needs to focus on dealing with the Sky City. Sig rubbed his temple irritably. There was another knock on the door and Albedo's voice came from outside. "Lord Sig, we have a visitor." The person who asked the Guardian Chief to come and report in person was definitely not just a guest. Sig asked Flutter and Ligurid to leave, and went out directly to the reception room with Albedo, and he did not forget to ask who the guest was. A hint of displeasure flashed across Albedo's face. Of course, this was not directed at Sig, but the customer really made her very unhappy. It's a loving mother. When Sig pushed the door open, his loving mother was already sitting on the sofa waiting. She was also wearing a gauze dress that revealed less skin, but the translucent material was barely visible, and it was not much different from before. Hearing the door open, she turned around and smiled, "Sir Sig, we finally have a chance to sit down and have a good talk." Chapter 239. At her mother's request, Albedo and the maids who served her withdrew, and Sig stayed behind alone. On the surface, there are only 2 people in the house, but in fact, everything in the house is under surveillance. The 8-limbed assassin insects hiding in the dark are ready to strike. As long as the mother shows the slightest hostility, they will immediately attack. "Mother, what is your purpose?" Sig sat down, a polite smile on his face but a cold voice. Although what happened in the theocracy had not yet spread, it was not difficult for a loving mother to find out. What's more, she has a precedent of peeping, so she must have mastered powerful monitoring type origin magic. Coming here suddenly at a time like this would be a bit suspicious. The loving mother who had penetrated deep into the enemy camp was obviously quite self-aware and did not show any dissatisfaction. "I did not come here to get an answer in advance, but just to express my sincerity and apology." Sig raised an eyebrow. "Oh." He thought the other party would play dumb. After all, there was no definite evidence at the time. The mother's actions also indirectly helped Sig to massacre the army of the Council of State. Even if she refused to admit it, he could not do anything to her. True Dragon King means the real Dragon King. I remember that the theocracy called us that. It is indeed very appropriate to use it to refer to the dragon race that masters the origin of magic. The loving mother chuckled and leaned forward to show off her curves. Origin magic was once the exclusive domain of the dragon race. "Do you know why?" Sig leaned back in his chair and said with interest, "It's because of the World Connector profession." "Yes, only the Dragon Clan can change their job to World Connector. If you abandon your Dragon Clan identity, you will lose the qualification to use origin magic. This is basically a consensus, except for the rotten coffin Dragon King who is stuck in a bug. So, you want to ask me why I can use origin magic? I am indeed a little curious, but that kind of thing is not worth delving into. As long as it can be used, it is enough." The loving mother stood up. Her height of more than 2 meters was quite oppressive. Even though she was wearing revealing clothes, she did not look vulgar. This was the aura brought by her strength. The 8-limbed assassin insect in the dark immediately drew its blade, waiting for the order to attack. Sig watched his loving mother approach step by step, and then the sofa beside her sank, revealing a pair of smooth long legs. Dorodilin had worn clothes that highlighted her beautiful legs, but her mother had obviously gone even further. She was only wearing underwear under the veil, revealing large areas of skin. It was simply not something she could wear out of the house. It turns out that dragons really do have no sense of shame. The loving mother came over very slowly and spread out her palms. "I was too abrupt when we met last time, and some unpleasant things happened afterwards. Just consider this as an apology." It was a ring, the whole body of which was red gold. The face of the ring was a gem that glowed with 5-colored light, and it was decorated with dragon scales and dragon claws. The first time Sig saw it, he thought the ring looked familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere. The loving mother picked up the ring and explained caringly, "This is the dragon's secret treasure, a product of the original magic of creation." Sig finally remembered that the Platinum Dragon King had once given Ligurite a ring that could break through the limits of a warrior, and later gave it to Gazef. Climb also had it. After several twists and turns, the ring is now in Nazarick. Although it can help players at level 100 break through their limits, it is equivalent to providing a warrior profession that reaches level 101. However, due to its limitation on warrior abilities, it did not have as strong an enhancement as imagined, and was only left in the treasure hall as a special item. Sig nodded. "It is indeed a very nice gift, but I don't need it." "No, the one in the hands of the Platinum Dragon King is just a defective one. The professional ability provided by this ring is even more rare. It is made of my dragon scales." The loving mother placed the ring on the table and never touched Sig's body from beginning to end. She really did it on purpose. After all, she left her aura through contact last time. In order to show her sincerity, this trick cannot be used a second time. Sig didn't pick up the ring in a hurry. He turned his head and looked at his loving mother, smiling and said, "Sir Tia, do you want to completely pull me into the Dragon Clan's camp?" First they talked about primordial magic and World Connector, and then they gave us the dragon's secret treasure that can provide special abilities. Combining the two, the answer is obvious. The rule of this world is to learn skills and then get a career. Currently, Sig has mastered the origin magic. If he wants to use it freely, he needs the profession of World Connector. But he could not obtain the qualification for job change because he was at the maximum level and there was no level change. This ring carrying the aura of a loving mother is undoubtedly the key to solving the problem. Perhaps the thing more precious than the warrior is the world connector. Oh, have we been discovered? The loving mother continued to smile, but she did not look surprised at being exposed. This was her purpose. She really likes smart people like Sig, who can understand directly without her having to explain too clearly. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King is much worse. I can indeed accept it, but will the Dragon Emperor agree to accept such a precious item as an apology? If Filth were to completely master the original magic that belongs only to the dragon race, even the Dragon Emperor would be so angry that he would die. The loving mother had a complicated expression. The Dragon Emperor will never appear again. As the saying goes, one who receives favors shall be grateful, and one who eats the food shall be soft-hearted. Sig was sensible and did not ask any further questions. How much do you know about Sky City, Sister Tia? When the loving mother heard the name Sister, she was actually stunned for a moment, as no one had ever called her that before. She smiled and said, Sky City is the remnant of the 8 Desire Kings. They once brought great disasters to the world, and the remaining NPCs don't seem to be good people either. Sig picked up the ring on the table, looked through the ring at his loving mother beside him, and asked with a smile, So, Sister Tia, what do you want me to do? Giving such a valuable gift must be more than just an apology. The loving mother narrowed her eyes, then laughed so hard that her body shook. She approached as if no one was around, until she was so close that she could feel the hot air from his breath. I don't think anyone wants the 8 Desire Kings to return. Don't agree to any requests from Sky City. Sig held the ring in his hand. Deal, and thank you for the information you provided. If Sky City really intended to make a request, it is actually reasonable and we can believe it for now. Haha, I'm starting to like you a little bit. Sig was really shocked when his loving mother suddenly said such words without any preparation. The loving mother smiled, stuck out her tongue and licked her lips, smiling seductively. I originally just thought you were gorgeous, but I didn't expect that your personality is also very suitable for my taste. Sig was indeed with several women, but he did not accept all of them. It was a bit unbearable for him to be in love with a dragon that had lived for 1,000 years. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. There is really no real dragon in the dragon clan. Stop joking. I'm counting on you, the future of the dragon race. Chapter 240. Sky City, Eleuntius. The scorching sun cast a soft glow through the magic barrier, and the carefully tended garden was planted with many flowers and plants, swaying slightly in the breeze. The fresh air is mixed with the fragrance of flowers and butterflies, and birds flutter and play from time to time. The white round table was filled with exquisitely shaped snacks and hot tea. It seemed to be just an ordinary afternoon tea, unless one ignored the relationship between the two people at the table, the kidnapper and the victim. Veltros was wearing a very simple robe, his silver hair sparkled in the sun, and his face was so beautiful that it was hard to tell whether he was male or female. He picked up a piece of dessert gracefully. Not to your taste. No. Chui Sijiming frowned. She really couldn't understand what the person in front of her was thinking. Although she was captured as a hostage, she was not locked up. She was simply disarmed and allowed to move freely. Now he is pretending to be a good person and treating her to food, but who knows if there is poison in it. Veltros said gently, My name is Veltros. People who are familiar with me call me Vel. Miss Auntie doesn't need to be too restrained. Chui Sijiming sighed inwardly. It turned out that after investigation, he even knew her real name. The only one who can call her like this now is Sig. Why doesn't he come to save her? They say they'll be together forever, but you really can't take what a man says in bed seriously. Veltros seemed to see Chui Sijiming's anxiety and took the initiative to say, Don't worry, I just want to talk to your master. I just need you to wait here for a while. Are you here for the holy dragon god? It's useless. He just uses the theocracy as a pawn. He might as well just kill me. Chui Sijiming knew that he didn't have any ulterior motives, so he stopped beating around the bush and spoke directly what was in his heart. She also felt a little thirsty at this time, so she licked her lips, picked up the teacup and poured it into her mouth. Veltros shook his head, You are the descendant of that master. I will not hurt you. Chui Sijiming was furious. What descendants? I am just a god. I have nothing to do with other people. Only the descendants of the 6 great gods are called gods. This is a special name used by the church to distinguish bloodlines. The 8 Desire Kings are the great sinners who killed the god of death and are the main culprits that endanger the world. No one in the church wants to have anything to do with them. Veltros was not angry, and said calmly, I am not wrong. The aura on you is very strong. It's just a pity that as a grandson, you did not inherit the talent of a light warrior. The 8 Desire Kings came 500 years ago, and started to establish harems after they conquered the world. Among them, the light forest elf warrior gave birth to the elf king Decameron 400 years ago. Decameron abducted the god Manfin of the theocracy 100 years ago and gave birth to Juisa Huming. The 6 gods came to the world 600 years ago. The lifespan of humans is much shorter than that of elves, and the speed of inheritance is faster. Juisajiming's mother can be considered the 7th generation. The 8 Desire Kings are Juisajiming's grandfathers, while the 6 great gods are her distant ancestors. It goes without saying which side's bloodline is purer. Juisajiming took a deep breath. She hated that beastly father very much and had no good feelings towards the 8 Desire Kings who killed gods. She was absolutely unwilling to acknowledge their bloodline. But now that she was in the enemy camp, she couldn't show it too obviously. Juisajiming gritted his teeth and asked, What exactly do you want to say? Nothing, just a sigh, it's been too long. Veltros looked at the beautiful scenery of the garden, and his thoughts seemed to drift away with it, and there was some confusion in his eyes. Juisajiming saw the shadow of a familiar person in the other person. Her teacher Rufus would also look like this when no one was around. In the teacher's words, this is a poor ghost who has lost his master. Veltros withdrew his thoughts and raised the corners of his mouth slightly, the guests are coming, Lakesai is ready to welcome them. Juisajiming widened his eyes slightly, his heterochromatic pupils flashing, so fast. Outside the Sky City, a figure stood in the air. It was Sig in casual clothes. His expression was calm and he showed no signs of nervousness, which showed that he was well prepared. After a few seconds, the airtight magic barrier opened up the passage. A burly man appeared at the gate of the castle. He had a pair of ears on his head. Judging from his appearance, he was most likely a werewolf. As he was given the duty of guarding the gate, his level should not be low, and his racial level is much higher than that of the wolf girl. Lakesai said expressionlessly, Please. I hope you'll keep your promise. The moment Sig took a step forward, the world spun before his eyes and in the blink of an eye he was in the garden. Idiot, why did you really come here alone? Juisajiming rushed over, raised his fist and hit Sig in the chest. Sig caught the 2 pink fists with one hand and said with a smile, You are so strong, it seems that you are fine. Actually you shouldn't have come. Juisajiming's voice gradually became lower and he curled up into a ball, looking unusually weak and pitiful. With me here, that kind of tragedy won't happen. This is a cool story. Besides, I've already said that I'll be with you forever, and I won't break my promise. Juisajiming calmed down and just silently grabbed the corner of Sig's clothes and refused to let go. You two have a great relationship, it's really enviable. Sig turned around and said with a fake smile, Mr. Veltros, I wonder what you want to do. Are you going to start a war? It's better for the other party to give a reason that is convincing enough, otherwise don't blame him for being rude. Although Sky City is a guild stronghold, if a player dies, it will most likely only be able to maintain basic operations and maintenance with only 30 NPCs. Not to mention being hit by the primordial Big Bang, his lifeline is also controlled by Nazarick. The news of the Platinum Dragon King's capture had already been deliberately spread, and it was obvious who had the guild weapons. Please allow me to express my apologies. Veltros stood up and spread his wings behind him. Angels actually come in many different forms, some like Victim, while others are covered in hard armor. Of course, there are also some that are completely out of human form, with several pairs of wings and eyes, which will give you goosebumps at a glance. Veltros not only has a human form, but also has an appearance that is very close to that of a human. What we see so far is just the beautiful appearance carefully created by the 8 Desire Kings. Most angels have no gender, and perhaps the person in front of me is the same. The origin of the name of the 8 Desire Kings is very simple. People say that the 8 Desire Kings were unable to control their desires, which led to internal strife and ultimately their destruction. Veltros said slowly, but the truth is not like this. It was the Dragon Emperor who used the forbidden power. At that time, the Dragon clan was forced into a desperate situation and it was time for a decisive battle. The Dragon Emperor suddenly burst out with power far beyond his own capabilities, instantly killing all the mercenary monsters and thus winning the victory. Sig actually had a vague guess, but after hearing what Veltros said, he was also a little frightened. If Nazarick had traveled through time first and was attacked by the Dragon Emperor without any preparation, it would probably have suffered heavy losses as well. So what do you want to say? The Dragon Emperor's life no longer belongs to him. He will bring the ultimate disaster to the world, which is called Nine Lights. Chapter 241. It's over, Master Sig has lost contact, Ainz. Shaltir. What are you yelling about? Sig-sama will be fine. Shorty, don't misinterpret my meaning. Of course I also want Lord Sig to be alright. Since Sig entered the Sky Castle, the telephoto lens completely lost sight of him, and Shaltir and Aura started arguing over this. Quiet. Cocytus let out a breath of cold air and seriously stopped this farce. Their task is to be ready to fight at all times, and playing around will cause distraction, which is not the right thing to do before a battle. Mare held Jinkei in his arms and looked up at Demiurge timidly. Are we just going to wait like this? Well, this is what the two Supreme Beings meant. Demiurge pushed up his glasses. The metal tail behind him kept swaying from side to side. He was obviously not as calm as he appeared. Jinkei has a special connection with Lord Sig. We must pay close attention to his reaction. This concerns Lord Sig's safety. There must not be any mistakes. It would be fine if nothing happened, but if Lord Sig is harmed, the Great Tomb of Nazarick will launch a devastating attack on the Sky Castle and all guardians will be dispatched. I understand. Mare nodded seriously, increased the strength in his hands, and hugged the baby dragon tightly in his arms. Jinkei stuck her head out, opened her mouth and called out. Aura clapped her hands. Great. Jinkei said everything went well. Shaltir questioned, Shorty, when did you learn dragon language? Aura put her hands on her hips and smiled confidently. Now that Nazarick has tamed several dragons, I must study harder so as not to disappoint Ainz-sama and Sig-sama. Cocytus nodded seriously. That's right, we guardians must also keep learning. Shaltir curled her lips quietly. It wasn't that she disagreed with what was said, but she just didn't want to talk about this topic because she hadn't made any progress. By the way, where is Albedo? And Ainz-sama isn't here either. Although she would not dare to ask any more questions even if Ainz-sama was present, Albedo always said that she was the principal wife, so why didn't she accompany Sig-sama at a time like this? Albedo specializes in defense and is the most suitable villain choice as a guard. Shaltir is indeed not weak, but she is not suitable for guarding. Fighting is her strong point. Demiurge smiled and said, Ainz-sama is in Nigrad's territory on the 5th floor. Albedo is also there. The 5th level, in a room in Bingja prison. Damn it, I lost him. The several magic light screens in front of him disappeared and turned black, and Ainz slammed the table in anger. He originally wanted to rely on Nigild's power to track, but it was useless in the end, and the effect was not much different from using a telephoto lens. Albedo gritted her teeth and said, if anyone dares to hurt Lord Sig, I will tear them into pieces. Compared to Ainz's annoyance, Albedo's emotions were obviously more unstable, like a powder keg ready to explode at any moment. Ainz actually felt that it was somewhat risky to go deep into the enemy camp alone. If it were him, he would definitely make a more thorough plan and collect more intelligence. Sig is a little too efficient in doing things. He won't hesitate as long as he is sure of something. This is actually not a shortcoming, and the two people's personalities are quite complementary. But Sig's idea this time was really crazy. He had already removed all his equipment before setting off, carrying only the dragon's secret treasure he had just obtained, ready to launch a self-destructive attack if something went wrong. There is no need to worry about resurrection afterwards, as Sig used a special skill to survive by cutting off his tail, leaving part of his body in Nazarick, so that he can directly use resurrection magic after his death. It is not too late to recover the dragon's secret treasure after occupying the Sky City. If the user cannot use the original magic, that thing will be a useless item. Nigret showed a bright red eye. I have set up a monitoring magic on Lord Sig. Although there will be a time lag in receiving the information and it will be interfered by the magic barrier, it is possible to obtain intelligence. The magic used to obtain information from the 7-colored Dragon King can also work wonders on companions. Ainz's eyes lit up. Well done, Nigret. Can you take it now? Nigild nodded, raised her hand and created a magic circle, and a strange voice came out clearly. The Dragon Emperor is about to become the 9 Lights. Your Excellency does not seem very surprised. In a blink of an eye, the 3 of them were sitting at the table, and the extra third teacup came in handy at this time. Veltros snapped his fingers, and the teapot floated in the air, pouring tea for the guests. Sig calmly picked up the teacup and took a sip elegantly. I am more curious about how Lord Weir knew about Jiao. This name is no secret among the players, but the NPCs will never know it, and even the loving mother only refers to it as disaster. Thinking of the past, Veltro's eyes flashed with obvious hatred. The Dragon Emperor devoured the Master's soul and body, making it impossible for us to even revive. This is the last information the Master passed on. Sig asked his doubts, can we be sure based on just one side? Whether it is appearance or ability, these are just guesses and there is no way to make a final conclusion. How many goodly creatures are there here? Velas slowly read out this English line. Although it was a little unfamiliar, it was not difficult to hear clearly if you read it carefully. These are the first words the Dragon Emperor said when he gained power. The Master said that as long as we say them, other players will understand. But I really don't understand what that means. Sig's expression changed. No wonder the 8 Desire Kings were so sure. Now he was also sure. This sentence is exactly the appearance line of the 9 Lights World Devourer as set in the game, and almost no player does not know it. I believe what you said. Let's speak frankly. The manager of Sky City went through so much trouble, first kidnapping and then giving away information for free. Sig was a little unsure of what the other party was trying to do. In fact, the loving mother had already informed us of the information about the coming of the 9 Lights in advance, but she did not mention anything about the Dragon Emperor. Whether it was intentional or he really didn't know, there is no way to tell. What Vertello said in front of me was most likely true, and all the details matched, so it was worth listening to. I want to take back the guild weapons, form an alliance with you, and fight against the 9 Lights together. It is clearly an evil force left behind by the 8 Desire Kings, but they are unexpectedly easy to talk to, and what they want to do are very just. This is really magical. However, Vertolos's purpose is definitely not as pure as it seems. Sig asked, I'm a little curious, have you ever tried to win over anyone? Veltros was slightly surprised and answered truthfully, 200 years ago, a player named Rick came here. I admired him very much, but it's a pity that he didn't come back alive. Sig nodded, he roughly understood. But I'm sorry, I promised others that I would not agree to Sky City's request, so I can only make a deal. Trade. First of all, you must exchange the unnamed spell book for the guild weapon. Chapter 242. Veltros's expression changed in an instant, and there was a chill in his eyes. Just like a cat whose tail was stepped on, it suddenly showed its fangs. However, the cat was panting because it was frightened, and it was very likely that Vertus had revealed his true face, and his previous disguise was just to gain trust. He forced a smile and said, I don't know where you heard that from, but Eliuentiu doesn't have that kind of item. When did I say that the nameless spell book is a tool? Sig held his chin and chuckled, holding the hand of the person next to him under the table. Juisajiming was stunned for a moment, then immediately took the initiative to shake it back, with their fingertips touching each other until their 10 fingers were intertwined. She swung her calves in black stockings, and when no one was paying attention, she placed them on Sig's legs, and raised the corners of her mouth quietly. If you want to pursue excitement, then just go for it to the end. You guys! The corner of Vertus' mouth twitched. The 3 of them were sitting around the table. Even though they were not sitting close to each other, he certainly noticed Juisajiming's little movements. Sig was originally worried that Vertus would turn against him, but seeing how Juisajiming acted, he probably misunderstood. Since there were many things to do, he might as well just go with the flow. He asked directly, why don't you answer, Lord Weir? A corner of Vertolos's smiling mask shattered. He had never seen such a shameless person. He should be the one to ask what was wrong. He continued to be stubborn, nothing, but I really have never seen the unnamed spell book, sorry I can't agree to it. Sig tilted his head and laughed helplessly, I can tell you the terms of the deal, of course I have a reliable source of information, do you know kind mother? Veltros took a deep breath and said with a fake smile, so it was her. He had been playing dumb just to bet that Sig was just guessing. Now that it was so clear, there was no point in denying it. In fact, the existence of the unnamed spell document is not a secret, but only a few people know about it, and most people think it is a legend. Sig had seen relevant information in the original novel and had casually asked about it when he met his loving mother before, thus smoothly passing the blame on to her. The world-class item Unmarked Spellbook has the ability to record magic. Even newly created magic will be automatically recorded, and the effect is quite powerful. As long as you hold this item, there will be no possibility of hiding any magic, and everything will be clear. For NPCs like Veltros, this was the last world item left by the 8 Desire Kings, so he flatly refused. I'm sorry, but I don't agree to the exchange. Sig just smiled and said, that's a shame. It looks like we can only be enemies forever. The two looked at each other and no one spoke. A terrifying aura burst out from Veltro's body, and the surrounding birds were frightened and flew away in panic. Juisajiming also felt threatened. She subconsciously wanted to retract her feet and prepare to fight, but a pair of big hands held her ankles tightly. What you do? Don't move, it's okay. After a brief contact and a series of tests, Sig has understood the current situation of Sky City and he believes in his own judgment. You win. Veltros returned to his original kind appearance, as if the person just now was not him. Sig calmly picked up a piece of dessert and fed it to Juisajiming, then said jokingly with a smile, it should be difficult to maintain the current status of Sky City. The operation of a guild requires not only human resources, but also a considerable amount of money. Basic facility maintenance, resource consumption, NPC losses, and even setting traps cost money. The 8 Desire Kings did not have this kind of worry at the beginning, but everything they did consumed resources. Even if the Great Tomb of Nazarick wanted to quickly conquer the world, it would have to pay a huge price, and half of the classes would be exhausted. The 8 Desire Kings were facing the heyday of the Dragon Clan. In order to conquer the world, they used props without restraint, and countless mercenaries and monsters died. Since the death of the Guild Master, Sky City has been in seclusion for 500 years. It is also tightly restricted by the Platinum Dragon King using the guild's weapons. It is good enough to maintain basic operations. A lean camel is bigger than a horse, so Sig didn't look down on them too much. However, it would be a shame for Eliuentius to challenge Nazarick in his prime, and he would have no chance of winning even if he risked his life. Virtus naturally knew this, and with his wisdom it was not difficult for him to understand the current situation. That's why he showed goodwill at the beginning, actively provided information, and acted as a collaborator, but in essence he wanted to take advantage. Everything was going as planned, but the other party did not play by the rules. After hearing the intelligence, he simply denied it, and the previous player, Rick, believed it easily. Damn it, what went wrong? Mr. Weir, what are you daydreaming about? By the way, I'm curious about your gender. Sig looked her up and down, but couldn't tell from her face or voice that she had no Adam's apple, her chest was flat, and her waist was very thin. Vertelos appeared calm on the surface, but was a little annoyed on the inside. I am an angel. I have no gender and no reproductive organs. Sig nodded, I see. But you are indeed very beautiful, very deceptive. He was just simply curious and didn't have any strange thoughts. There is a beautiful woman sitting in front of him whose gender is difficult to tell. No one would not be curious, but Sig asked about it. Veltros noticed this and his eyes became a little strange. Thank you for your compliment, but the unnamed spellbook is the most important property of Sky City. I can't give you an answer immediately. Sig was not in a hurry, the guild's weapons in the hands of enemy forces are a hidden danger after all. As long as the guild weapons are destroyed, the Sky City that the NPCs have been guarding for hundreds of years will be reduced to ashes. Your lifeline is in the hands of others and you have no right to negotiate. Do you really want to gamble for a world-class prop? Veltros gritted his teeth and said, I can agree to this, but it will take some time. But believe me, the Dragon Emperor must be eradicated. After a long period of thinking, Veltros has understood the meaning of his existence. The so-called NPC is a tool created to serve the guild and the creators. A tool that loses its master also loses the meaning of life. After the death of the 8 Desire Kings, time in the Sky City also stopped. The only reason they were alive was revenge, and they wanted to vent their hatred towards the culprit, the Dragon Emperor. To this end, they endured humiliation and lay dormant, waiting for the existence that could kill the Dragon Emperor. In order to preserve the last bit of strength, they even reached an agreement with the Platinum Dragon King and voluntarily handed over the guild's weapons. For them, players can also be used as objects, but unfortunately Rick's line failed. But fortunately, Vertelos found the final answer. Please form an alliance with Sky City. Chapter 243. The capital of the country of Review. Since being conquered by the Magic Kingdom, the original 5 lifelong counselors have been reduced to 2, with the Blue Sky Dragon King in charge of the affairs of the Council of State, and the Obsidian Dragon King assisting him. Most of the original council system was retained because the concept of peaceful coexistence among multiple races was shared and the people were very accepting of the change of dynasties. The subhumans do not have a strong sense of national identity. They are accustomed to obeying the integration of the strong and respecting strength. It was once the Platinum Dragon King who brought them together, and now it is the Holy Dragon King. They are essentially the same. Apart from the additional undead on the streets, there haven't been many other changes. In fact, public security has even improved. It doesn't seem like it's a bad thing to accept the leadership of the Sorceress Kingdom. The Blue Sky Dragon King's initiative to stand up and protect the Council Nation also made his support rate reach its peak. The resurrection of the Obsidian Dragon King is a special reward for surrender. As a hero who died fighting for his country, his prestige is second only to the Blue Sky Dragon King. Therefore, the process of the review country taking over was very smooth and basically encountered no resistance. The Palace of the Dragon King. The Blue Sky Dragon King was always worried, as he knew very well that he was just a puppet, not to mention that there was a monitor beside him. The Obsidian Dragon saw the concerns of the Blue Sky Dragon King and took the initiative to explain, "Swillia, you don't have to be so nervous. The facts prove that I did the right thing." The Azure Sky Dragon King said with a hint of complaint, "Kaysen, you hid very well. I didn't even notice it. It was indeed my fault that I didn't notice that my subordinates had ulterior motives." But he really couldn't understand why the other party betrayed him, and when undercover agents must also pass on information, it is impossible to do so without leaving any traces. The Obsidian Dragon King sighed helplessly, "In fact, I never revealed any information about the Council Nation from the beginning to the end. They came to me first." His lair was built in an underground vein full of obsidian. It was quiet and very hidden. Even if others knew that there was a dragon living here, they would not have to worry about being disturbed. It is this kind of unsociable behavior that gives others opportunities to take advantage. Although the Obsidian Dragon King is low-key, he is also a genuine Dragon King. He is not as good as the true Dragon King, but he is much stronger than the Frost Dragon King. So when faced with the demon that suddenly came to his door, he was completely unguarded, but he soon realized the seriousness of the matter. In the face of an absolute power gap, there are only two choices: surrender or death. The Obsidian Dragon King is actually not a cowardly dragon, and the surrender that Demiurge demanded was not to ask him to sell out his country, but to ensure that the council state would not surrender and to provide timely guidance when necessary. After weighing the two options, the Obsidian Dragon King naturally chose to surrender and became an undercover agent who did not seem like an undercover agent. The Blue Sky Dragon King finally understood why the taciturn Obsidian Dragon King suddenly began to express his opinions. Now that he thought about it, it seemed that the other party had been hinting at him several times. But this cannot be blamed on the Obsidian Dragon King. Even without him, this war would be unavoidable. To a certain extent, we even have to thank the Obsidian Dragon King for his submission, which gave the Review Nation a glimmer of hope. The failure of the war was ultimately due to their weakness and the mistakes of the Platinum Dragon King, but the strength of the enemy could not be denied. The Azure Dragon King sighed quietly, "The Magic Kingdom is indeed unfathomable." The Obsidian Dragon King consoled him, "Perhaps as long as we complete the tasks assigned to us, the Diamond Dragon King can also be resurrected. It's just a matter of managing the country of opinions and paying attention to suspicious people. This task is not that difficult." King Kong Glong shook his head, "Forget it, we probably can't afford that price." Having said that, he actually wanted to revive his old friend, but he didn't dare to hope for it. As for the Worm Dragon King, the two dragons tacitly did not mention him. Those who deserted from the battlefield naturally did not deserve the chance to be resurrected. "Report to Lord Azure Dragon King and Lord Obsidian Dragon King, there is someone outside the palace who wants to see you." The guard ran in hurriedly. The reason for his eagerness was very simple. The other person seemed to have the characteristics of a dragon. The Blue Sky Dragon King and the Obsidian Dragon King looked at each other. Could it be that the mission would be completed so soon? Led by the guards, a mysterious man in a cloak slowly walked in. In order to accommodate the dragon's body size, the hall is extremely spacious and can even create an echo. The Azure Sky Dragon King asked the strangers to leave and asked, suppressing his excitement, "Who are you?" The mysterious man took off his hood and said, "Long time no see, both of you." The pupils of the Azure Sky Dragon King shrank slightly. "Yin Xing, it turned out to be you. Ching Kong, I didn't expect you still remembered me." A look of scorn appeared on the woman's face. She was the Silver Star Dragon King disguised as a human, the Platinum Dragon King's true confidant. Her body was covered with blue dragon scales, she had a pair of silver horns on her head, and even her hands looked like claws. With such an obvious feature, no wonder the guards noticed it. The Obsidian Dragon King had never seen the Silver Star Dragon King, he had only heard of him from others. It is said that the Silver Star Dragon King is a magical genius that is rare in the Dragon Clan for 100 years. She is a hybrid of a sea dragon and a silver dragon. Her IQ exceeds the limits of both dragon species. At the age of only 100 years old, she can use 6th level magic and even has mastered the ability to transform into a human form. Seeing it today, I can see that what he said is true. The Blue Sky Dragon King took the initiative to ask, "Why are you here instead of staying in the east?" He had followed the Platinum Dragon King to the eastern base and had met the Silver Star Dragon King once. Dragons are an originally proud race. The Blue Sky Dragon King is the most capable assistant, while the Silver Star Dragon King is the true confidant. The first meeting between the two sides was obviously not pleasant. The Azure Sky Dragon did not consider himself to be the other party's subordinate, and the Silver Star Dragon King also had a subtle hostility towards him, as if he felt that the Council Nation did not have the value of letting the Platinum Dragon King stay for long. It has been so long since we last met, but the memory is still very clear. The Silver Star Dragon King looked around and said coldly, "It seems that you have betrayed the Platinum Dragon King." The usually good-tempered Blue Sky Dragon King was also a little annoyed. The Silver Star Dragon had never experienced the deepest despair, and did not help them when they were about to die. He had no right to judge right or wrong here. "What is your purpose? You'd better tell me while I still want to hear it." Silver Star Dragon King said, "I am here to look for something. This is a request from Lord Platinum Dragon King. I hope you won't get in my way." Although it was clearly a request, her tone was still arrogant, as if others owed her something. The Blue Sky Dragon King thought he would endure it and consider keeping the secret, after all, he was the one who betrayed his old master first. But after going through a series of things, his thoughts became more mature than before, and he also understood one thing: an unreliable master would only drag down his subordinates. After the Silver Star Dragon King left, the Blue Sky Dragon King said to the Obsidian Dragon King beside him, "Report to Lord Sig immediately, the target has appeared." Chapter 244. The Holy See. The dark portal opened and 3 figures walked out. 2 of them are naturally Sig and Juisijiming, and the other one is a little lowly who is less than 1 meter tall. There is a miniature version of the celestial ring on her head, a pair of small white wings behind her, and a chubby face that looks childish, but from her delicate facial features one can foresee that she will become a very beautiful woman in the future. Sig looked at her strangely, and the little girl raised her head as if she had sensed something. "How about it, are you fascinated by me now?" Sig chuckled twice. He was not a Lolita complex, so how could he have such a strange idea? "I'm just curious. Your personality seems to be somewhat different from your original self. Just call me Xiaowei. I just haven't interacted with people for a long time, so I'm a little uncomfortable. Actually, Veltros is not good at fighting. His skills tend to be special auxiliary, like the previous forced teleportation and the skill of splitting into clones from the main body. However, this individual named Xiaowei obviously considers herself a girl and deliberately acts cute, which is different from the genderless original body." Juisijiming snorted coldly. She still remembered the hatred of being kidnapped by force. She said mercilessly, "Don't even think about seducing men, little brat like you. Hehe, it seems that you are jealous. I have no intention of interfering." Xiaowei directly held their hands and said, "Look, we look like a family of 3. A family of 3? Juisijiming realized what was said too late. After reacting, she shook off his hand as if she had been electrocuted. She ran away feeling ashamed and angry. "Hey, I wasn't wrong." Xiaowei was split from Vertelos and can share the original body's memories. They used to show their love so boldly. Sig also felt that something was wrong with Juisijiming, but he didn't care much and asked directly, "You said that Jiao might come early, is this true?" Vertelos finally revealed a very shocking secret, that is, the disaster that his mother said would happen 100 years later was not accurate. The moment the Dragon Emperor used the power of 9 lights, he was already polluted, and he was closely connected with the Traverser's Passage. It would be fine if he was in a half-dead state. Once the Dragon Emperor fully awakens, he will turn into a coordinate, like a lighthouse in the dark night guiding the arrival of the 9 lights. Xiaowei's expression was serious, Please don't question the sincerity of Sky City. This is the result we have come to after hundreds of years of investigation. Sig touched his chin and thought, I have a question, are you the only one who knows this news? Xiao Wei put his hands on his waist and puffed out his chest proudly, of course. Even the Platinum Dragon King might not know. No one wants to kill the Dragon Emperor more than they do, and naturally no one knows each other's situation better than them. As the saying goes, only when you know yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. Sig always felt that something was strange, but he couldn't put his finger on it. At this time, information came through the message that the Silver Star Dragon King was going to the Council Country to look for an unknown existence. Something in Sig's brain suddenly opened up, and he thought of a possibility regarding the Platinum Dragon King's real backup plan. He asked seriously, just like we said before, in order to form an alliance, you will help us, right? Xiao Wei nodded. This was the reason why the main body sent her here. Her position is that of a consumable clone, with basically no attack capability. If she is captured by the enemy, she will self-destruct to ensure that no information is leaked. Then let me ask you, what are the conditions for awakening the Dragon Emperor? Ah, this. Sig straightened Xiao Wei's face and pinched her chubby cheeks with 2 fingers, answer my question. Xiao Wei asked his main body in his mind before answering, I don't know, but the Platinum Dragon King might know. After all, they are father and son. Sig let go of his hand and said helplessly, this is really a beating of the younger one. It's time to find the older one. After informing Queen Ainz of the news of Zizi Zhuiming's return, Sig teleported directly to the Sorceress Kingdom. Ainz was waiting in the office when he saw Sig appear in front of him. Sig-san, what are you holding in your hand? Sig released his hand and said, it was sent to us by Vertelos to help us form an alliance. Xiao Wei protested in dissatisfaction, don't keep calling me a clone, my name is Xiao Wei. Ainz poked the little loli's chubby face out of curiosity. He thought it was quite cute, but on the surface it looked like a scary skull face. Xiao Wei is an angel with holy attributes and is naturally resistant to the undead, but the Ainz in front of her is much stronger than her, so she can only give in. She looked up and blinked her big eyes, launching a cute attack. Ainz felt like he was struck in the heart. He hadn't seen such a cute little creature in a long time. Sig reminded, this is the clone of Veltros. Cuteness is just a disguise. This guy's inner age is the same as his true self, at least half 1,000 years old, over 500 years old. Ainz responded and coughed twice to cover up his embarrassment, I will also seriously consider the alliance with Sky City. Through Nigild's monitoring, he roughly knew what Sig encountered in Sky City. After the dust settled, the Guardians also stopped their combat readiness. Except for Albedo who was still waiting, the others had already returned to their respective posts. Sig said anxiously, we don't have time to worry about that right now. We should go to the Council Country immediately. We must not let the Silver Star Dragon King find the tool to awaken the Dragon Emperor. What? Hearing such explosive news suddenly, Ainz was so excited that green light appeared on his body, triggering forced calmness. It took his brainless head a full minute to accept this fact. Then notify everyone immediately. Sig quickly stopped Ainz from issuing an order, President, what I just said was just a guess. I am only 80% to 90% sure. We must confirm it. The loss of face is a minor matter, but the main issue is the waste of manpower and material resources, so we should not jump to conclusions easily. He also had a sudden flash of inspiration and suddenly made an association. If the main backup plan is to revive the Rotten Coffin Dragon King, the Silver Star Dragon King should be in charge in the center of the continent instead of running to the remote council country to look for something. In order to avoid being obstructed, he even warned the Blue Sky Dragon King, which is a bit like trying to cover up the truth. Indeed. Ainz had the ability to force himself to remain calm, so he quickly calmed down and nodded seriously. This concerns the Dragon Emperor and the 9 stars, so it is no small matter. Xiao Wei also broke out in a cold sweat after hearing this, and of course he didn't want the Dragon Emperor to wake up at this time. The original plan was to kill the Dragon Emperor when he was half dead. If he woke up, it would be much more difficult to execute. The loving mother couldn't have been unaware of the Dragon Emperor's transformation, but she simply said that a disaster was about to happen. Sig didn't know what role his loving mother played in this, but if she was really an enemy, he would never show mercy. Let's set off for the Council State now. Chapter 245. See the Supreme Being. The moment the portal appeared, the Blue Sky Dragon King and the Obsidian Dragon King knelt on the ground together, showing complete submission. The two figures that appeared were Sig and Ainz, as well as a clone of Veltros that was so small that it was almost ignored. The Blue Sky Dragon King was not too curious and just thought that Xiaowei was a subordinate he had never seen before. He immediately began to recount the entire conversation. In addition, I have sent people to follow the order, and the whereabouts of the Silver Star Dragon King are under control. Ainz asked in confusion, didn't she notice? Based on the Dragon Clan's perception ability, it should be possible for them to discover it. The tracking order was only a stopgap measure, aimed at making the Silver Star Dragon King wary and give up or delay the action. As long as the other party is still within the territory of the country under review, it is not that difficult to find that person. The important thing is to understand the other party's true purpose. So time is precious, there is no doubt about it. The Blue Sky Dragon King was also confused about this. He thought that the Silver Star Dragon King was not that kind of careless guy. Having the wisdom to manage a force on behalf of the Platinum Dragon King, he should be more cunning and cautious. I'm very sorry. I failed in my duty. Sig said in a deep voice, it's not your fault. I have a guess. If you want to do something quietly, the best approach is to keep it confidential. Coming to the Blue Sky Dragon King and the Obsidian Dragon King so blatantly, and most likely the dragons have already betrayed them, is no different from directly notifying the enemy. Xiaowei couldn't wait to ask, what is it? Secret? What? When Xiaowei wanted to continue asking, Sig blocked her mouth directly, after all, it's just a guess. I still need your strength now. Don't forget your responsibilities. Xiaowei nodded reluctantly, I understand, leave the tracking to me. Sig smiled with satisfaction. He had not originally planned to bring along Sky City's spies, but the other party was eager to help. He has confirmed that Veltros possesses specialized space abilities. Xiaowei and Veltros are originally one and the same, and their abilities come from the same source, so it is very convenient to use. Since the other party wants to plant spies, why not take advantage of it? Sky City has been hidden from the world for a long time, and the research on the Dragon Emperor is indeed quite thorough, but it certainly doesn't know much about the world situation. It's quite cost-effective to exchange some unimportant information for a free worker. Sig's suggestion that the Silver Star Dragon King was going to awaken the Dragon Emperor was mostly intentional. He could have told Ainz secretly or just said it out loud to let the Sky City know. Knowing this crucial information, even if he couldn't be 100% sure, Virtus would definitely be very anxious and would not dare to delay. Sure enough, Xiaowei raised his hand to open the space door, flapped his wings and went in, and did not forget to give instructions before leaving. I'm not helping for nothing. The enemy is acting so rampantly, so let's put the alliance on the agenda as soon as possible. Sig smiled and waved his hand, bye, we'll talk about that after we get the book. Hello. After Wei left, Ainz asked, the book you are talking about is the unnamed spellbook, right? Sig nodded, exactly. It's not safe to keep that thing in Sky City. We have to get it. Ainz agreed, and he asked, by the way, the conjecture you just mentioned, do you think that the Silver Star Dragon King is deliberately luring us into a trap? President, it seems that you have learned my true teachings. Sig said meaningfully, after all, conspiracy is something that anyone can use, so let Sky City test the waters for us first. The Silver Star Dragon King, who is known for his wisdom, had lost contact with the Red Flame Dragon King and seemed to be getting anxious. I just don't know whether her purpose of awakening the Rotten Coffin Dragon King was to distract attention intentionally or she did it sincerely. But no matter what, if it is a carefully planned plan, it would be a bit unromantic if they don't cooperate. Ainz said, when it comes to the feud with the Dragon Emperor, Sky City has a deeper grudge than us. It is best to wait and see what happens. Well, although it's not urgent, we still have to send Hanzo to follow, and have agreed keep an eye on it. We can't get information from other people. It's natural. The two Supreme Beings discussed the plan without any scruples. The Azure Dragon King and the Obsidian Dragon King felt a chill. Could they know such a secret? Were they going to silence them? Sig turned around, as if he had just noticed them. Qing Kong and Obsidian, you did a good job and successfully passed the test of loyalty. As long as you show more loyalty, the reward will not be less. Even reviving the Diamond Dragon King is possible. The two dragons immediately knelt down and hurriedly thanked him. They felt like they were on a roller coaster. Especially the Blue Sky Dragon King, he felt like he was being seen through. Sig smiled and said, the Platinum Dragon King is currently imprisoned. You can go see him when you have time. Do you understand what I mean? Ainz ordered in a deep voice, we will stay in the council for the time being. There is no need to hide the news. Yes, sir. After arranging accommodations for the two Supreme Beings, the Blue Sky Dragon King and the Obsidian Dragon King finally relaxed. Obsidian's already dark face became even darker. He was really exhausted. It seems that all this is related to the Platinum Dragon King. First it was the Silver Star Dragon King, then the Dragon Emperor, and Sig's final hint was also very obvious. The Azure Sky Dragon King naturally guessed it, and he knew even more. I suspect that he wants to replicate the history of the Dragon Emperor defeating the 8 Desire Kings. The Obsidian Dragon King widened his eyes, so that's how it is? Why didn't you report it just now? The Azure Sky Dragon King sighed, do you think those two don't know? Besides, providing information requires confirmation. It seems that we must meet in person. The Obsidian Dragon King nodded seriously. He was not very loyal to the Platinum Dragon King. If he thought rationally, he would know that they ended up like that because of their old master. The Blue Sky Dragon King had been with the Platinum Dragon King for a longer time, and after a period of ideological struggle, he finally accepted the reality of betrayal. Now they are all in the same situation, so naturally they have to advance and retreat together. At the place closest to the horizon, a slightly dilapidated palace stood there. This was the residence of the former Dragon Lord, built on the highest peak in the world. Not to mention human habitation, even birds do not exist. Only dragons have the ability to fly to get here. Hundreds of years ago, this place was very lively, but now it is eerily quiet. The loving mother stepped onto the steps leading to the palace and walked up slowly. When she reached the door, an ominous smell hit her face. She hesitated for a moment, then slowly walked in. The dilapidated palace was empty. When we arrived at the main hall, we finally saw something that looked like a living creature. The transparent cocoon wrapped around the sleeping dragon, fixed on all sides by several thread-like substances. The golden dragon body was covered with black lines. Sensing someone approaching, the cloudy eyes suddenly opened, and the black substance had completely filled the eye sockets, but it was more like an instinctive reaction, not a real awakening. The loving mother's voice was filled with nostalgia, long time no see, old friend. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.